Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to this week's episode of Tavern Talks. I am Jonesy, Dungeon Master for Hard Knock Dice, and this week we're going to be talking about D&D's most frightening foes. But before we get into all of that, I'm going to let these guys introduce themselves.
I'm Kent. I play Art Yelm on Hard Knock Dice, and yep, I do this show occasionally too.
Well, I am Ian. I play Gandalf on Hard Knock Dice, and so far I've been here for every one of these Tavern Talks. So I guess that's my thing. I play and do Tavern Talks.
I am Cody. Some of you will know me as Tyler, and I play on the Saturday campaign. This will be my first Tavern Talk. I'm hoping we'll have a lot of fun with it.
Yay! Ah, damn it. So we got together and talked about this episode a little bit, and we've been going back and forth about things just, scare the shit out of us in D&D. But I think, it's a good way to end this monster of a year by just going over and talking about some of the monsters that have been, just absolutely pants shittingly scary. Yeah, I think Kent's gonna kick us off with it. We're gonna just jump right in with this, and we're gonna have a couple of different pictures and stuff for you guys, and just kind of go through. First, Kent, if you want to, and I'm just gonna, we'll hop right into it. Hey, Zack Attack, thanks for that follow, bro. If you want to go over like your criteria, how you chose these, stuff like that, and that's how we'll kick it off. And then just let me know what monster you want to start off with.
All right. Yeah, I kind of based things off of how difficult they were for their challenge rating, and I wanted to make sure that they were kind of like common foes that you might come across, like nothing that would be like a legendary creature or some sort of like end of campaign type kind of boss battle or something like that. So all mine are pretty mundane-ish, but mechanically have really swingy effects to them.
Is there some echo? Avocado Knight? I don't hear any echo on my end. Does anybody else?
I mean, I'm not hearing anything, so
Wyatt said there's
Wyatt's getting echo
it's
as well.
echo on us, but not you. I hear it. I just unmuted us for a second.
Interesting.
Uh-oh.
Only with Kent, Ian, and Cody a little bit. Interesting. So maybe it's your...
We have not
I need
met
to
before.
get my headset away from the mic.
No.
I don't. It's not.
I mean, I'm muted whenever I'm not talking, so I don't know.
No, that's what he's talking about. It's like when you talk, you echo off yourself.
I'm looking
Apparently
for
Cody's
anything
good.
that might be
And now
echoing.
I'm good.
Ian is good. Cody is good. Fixed
Am I
now.
good now?
Oh, somebody back. All
All right, great.
I don't know what we did. Yay!
We did nothing. Actually, we did everything.
We're
Thank
the
you guys
greatest.
for letting us know. You're the
Solid.
real heroes here.
Nice.
If anything changes throughout the stream, hop in there, let us know.
We
All
are
right.
the greatest.
But yeah, so I kind of chose them based off of kind of a CR and them having weird mechanical quirks to them that probably might not fit into a planned encounter exactly the way you think. So maybe not the deadliest, but accidentally deadliest. And anyway, I guess we can start with the drow since that's probably the most common one.
Surely.
Yep. And basically, I mean, the drow's only a 1/4 challenge rating, but it's got darkness. It can cast fairy fire to get advantage on you. It's immune to, or has advantage on saving throws against charm and all that other kind of stuff. But what really makes it, in my opinion, kind of over the top is that it has a hand crossbow that has a poison on it that can just throw you unconscious. It's a 1/4 challenge rating. If you fail your save by 5 or more, your character is just knocked out.
Are there repeating saving throws or anything?
No.
Yeah.
or it's a DC 13 Constitution save, so you have to roll like 8 or below. Where you're poisoned for 1 hour. If the saving throw by fails by 5 or more, you're also unconscious while poisoned in this way. The target wakes up if it takes damage, or if another creature takes an action to shake it away.
Oh, okay. So it's like sort of like sleep, like a sleep spell on an arrow.
Yeah.
If you fail it really hard, but you don't get to repeat a save on the poison itself. So even if you wake back up, you're still poisoned for an hour.
Yep.
So.
Oh man, yeah, that can go
and
really
it doesn't.
south.
It doesn't say anything in specific about getting hit with it again either.
Oh, so even if you. Well, I mean, if you're already poisoned, it's not like if they shoot you, you're like. I guess I don't think they would make you.
No, but I think the point. I think the point is a lot of things like that in the game, even at higher levels. Like if you overcome the saving throw, you're not vulnerable to it again. So this is kind of unique in that it can just reapply and reapply.
I mean, that's a poison though. Most things like that are poisons are like, you know, you can have it reapplied to you.
Well, I
but
think
it's usually like things that are like fear or charm effects, like mind altering effects that like if you save it, you're done. You don't have to save against it.
Right. Yeah, but it's the sleep effect, right? It's
Yeah,
interesting that
Mhm.
you're still poisoned, but you like you could wake up and they just shoot you again. It's like, oh well, napping again. Like,
That's my question. Like, if you're still poisoned for the full hour, so you're still poisoned even if you wake up. If you get shot again, do you have to make the save again just to see if you fall back asleep? Because it's not like you're gonna be double poisoned.
Right.
Because poison is its own condition, right?
Yeah,
So
poison is a creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks. For the condition status itself, it says that there isn't any hard rules for if you get poisoned that you can't be poisoned again in a certain amount of time.
So I guess that depends on.
That can feed into itself, because even if the first one doesn't put you down, if you get the poisoned condition from one, that's going to make you more vulnerable to being fucked up by the next one and going.
Not necessarily. It doesn't give you a disadvantage on saves, just on ability checks.
Ability checks and attack rolls. So once you get hit by it, you have disadvantage on everything.
Yeah,
but like if you get somebody chucks a fireball at you, you don't have disadvantage on that dex save, right?
Right.
You don't have that, but like, because it's just it's ability check. So like your athletics or acrobatics or something, so you can get grappled easier. But
I still think that, like, to Kent's point, this ability on a CR 1/4 creature,
right,
most definitely
is awful.
Yeah, because you're not gonna be fighting just one. Like you're probably gonna be fighting a group of them.
Like I was just imagining someone going, okay, you know, I have like some CR3, CR4s, 4 CR4s. I'm gonna have an Underdark encounter. I'll throw 4 or 5 drow in here, and you know, maybe a spellcaster drow. That'll be a pretty good encounter. These are only 1/5, 4th CR, and then in the first couple of rounds of combat, 2 of the 4 people in your party fell by 5 or more, and then you have suddenly like a 6v2.
Right.
And everyone's taking disadvantage on their attack rolls. Because that save for being poisoned isn't if they save by 5 or more. They get poisoned if they roll 12 or under on the save.
And heaven forbid they're paired with a stronger monster like a Drider or something.
Right. But I mean, yeah, I would often imagine that these are one of the lower tier of drow, so they would get thrown in there as like, you know,
right. They're getting thrown into
the minions. Yeah.
So that can very, very quickly be like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I'll take things that snowball on DMs for 100, Alex. Like that.
Yeah, like that can definitely, like if you're not thinking about it, like be, uh-oh, half my party is now asleep.
That's when you start like, oh, I'm rolling terribly now.
Yeah,
like,
you might be like, some of these attack rolls might need to fudge a little bit. Everybody's gonna die. Oh god.
The whole party circling the drain real quick. One of those like builds its own momentum mechanics.
Yeah. So that just means like, all right, our job is to make sure you can't fuck with the people that are now unconscious. Yeah. Now, granted, it could also be like if you want it to be a non-deadly encounter, like they're not murdering you, like because it puts you asleep, it doesn't kill you, so like could be. It was like instead of dying, they kidnap you. I don't know.
Kent, the wording on it, it says unconscious. That person goes unconscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
like it technically can be used on elves and stuff like that are immune to sleep.
Because it's not magical sleep.
Right.
It's not sleep at all.
Right. It's just.
Unconscious.
I was thinking of the shaking them awake or anything like that. It's
says
interesting
you
because being unconscious, that word in 5e at least is typically associated with 0 hit points, right? So
Right.
I wonder if
Oh, well, actually, I was looking at the character in D&D Beyond, and it has unconscious highlighted, and so the condition unconscious is an unconscious creature is incapacitated, which is another condition. Creature drops whenever whatever he's holding and falls prone, automatically fails strength and dexterity saving rolls. Attack rolls have against it have advantage, and any creature that hits the creature, it's a crit if they're within 5 feet.
So basically,
Wow. Yeah.
Jesus. Okay.
Oof.
Yeah.
Again, it states if they take damage, they wake back up, but you're going to wake back up after getting crit and be prone with whatever you're holding on the ground.
Yeah.
So if you had like a sword, let me pick this up real quick.
Right. After the worst of awakenings.
And
got shanked in the
Being
kidney.
poisoned also gives you disadvantage on ability checks. So you're fighting against Drow. You're going to be in the dark anyway. So if you're having a hard time of fighting characters that are trying to hide and stuff too, it's going to be harder for you to spot them.
Yeah.
Right.
Ugh. That's gross. Yeah.
Nasty low CR monsters are always the best, in my opinion.
Hey.
The next one is the cockatrice, which is also a nasty low CR monster. It's only half a full CR. I mean, the cockatrice is kind of a one-trick pony. Pretty much everyone who knows what a cockatrice is know what it does. It has a bite, and if you fail in a Constitution saving throw, you're restrained. If you fail a second time, you're just petrified for 24 hours.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Wait,
What?
is this what size is this creature?
What?
Small.
It's like a big
It's
chicken.
a really ugly chicken, yeah.
I see that it's like a chicken, but with some of the artwork, I couldn't tell if it was like chicken sized or if it was like,
No, its size is small.
because some of this artwork makes it look like it's a goddamn velociraptor like sized chicken, but
No.
still that
What
ability
the
is
heck?
terrifying.
That's
Yeah.
What the heck?
It's like a Labrador-sized chicken. So
I mean, but cockatrices are generally, I've always seen them as being something that somebody, like a wizard or evil caster or just an evil dude in general might have them under their command, or just like random creatures out in terrible places that might be there for whatever reason. And yeah, you just have a caster with one or two of these with them. They just start pecking on people and restraining them, and if not restraining them, outright petrifying them. And I mean, petrification is incapacitated, but you don't wake back up.
Yeah, you're stuck there because you said it lasts for
Yeah.
24 hours.
24 hours. You're immune to poison and disease though, so there's that. If there are
Yay!
any drow have cockatrice, you don't have to worry about that poison anymore.
Nice. Well, and naturally, do they like travel in packs? Because
Yeah, what are
I would
these?
imagine
Are
if they're
these-
small, like they're grouped.
Are these fiends or because it looks
They
pretty
are-
fiendish.
They are monstrosities.
Okay, all right.
So in previous editions, they were just titled as like a magical beast, and you usually saw them in like small flocks of. Let's see if I'll bring up the old stat
I don't.
block.
Yeah, like I don't know how 5th edition does them, but I know in general, I think the standard was 2 to 4, like a pack of 2 to 4.
4 of
3
these
to
things
5.
could just absolutely
2
screw
to 5. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They did,
like,
that
especially early for how like low you're not.
Oh,
gonna
I
lift
forgot
up
the best
your
part.
taunt,
They-
anything.
They have a fly speed of 40 feet.
Oh, so they can outrun most characters at level
Yeah,
1.
If
Oh,
you start to get
God.
restrained and you can't move, and your
Just
party tries
drag
to get
you
away,
off?
they can hawk you down unless you're a party of monks and barbarians.
So what I'm hearing is that if we're going to the evil wizard's tower, that we don't need to visit the chicken coop that's out back. Like we need
Like,
to
Probably
avoid
God
should not.
damn. You said these are CR 1/2?
Half a CR. Now, given
So,
the bite is 1d4 plus 1 piercing,
Yeah, but
and
that's not.
the save is only a DC 11, and it's
still.
a plus 3 to hit. But it's still if you're playing a campaign that uses like from my experience, most of them do, where you have advantage if you're flanking someone. That's rough.
Oh yeah. They don't have like pack tactics or anything, dude.
No.
That'd be fucking pants shitting. Can you imagine? You just take theirs and you're like, I'm gonna tweak this a little bit. And you just give them pack tactics. And you're like,
The original cockatrices were like way more pants shitting because their petrification didn't used to be 24 hours. So I actually didn't know they'd reduce that until Kent brought it up just now.
Yeah.
It used to just be, sorry, your punk ass is turned to stone until y'all can find some way to turn you back. So, as terrifying as this is in 5e, it's actually like slightly less so.
I don't know. I think it depends on where you are because it might not make a difference. You're like 24 hours from now, if they're still stoned, we're fucked. Cause like 2 of your party members get turned to stone. You're like, we're in the middle of this evil jungle. We are so fucking screwed.
Barely Baphomet says Cockatrice is the best monster, and not just for the lewd name either.
Yeah, I said with its 40-foot fly speed, it could have a chance to hawk you down, but they should have had a chance to cock you down.
Ah.
Yeah.
Oh, good God.
Gotcha.
Please no. Please keep all of that away from me. Oh man.
Oh no.
But yeah, I mean, there's still, for a half CR creature, 27 hit points is pretty nice. Armor class is 11, so you're never going to miss them unless you blige. But
I don't know,
yeah.
Man. If you're going by like, if you're like a low magic point buy, you have like 20 points to buy fucking characters. You're level 1. You're like, my highest stat's a 15.
Oh, you're a melee sorcerer. Get out there.
I have a +4 to hit. Let's go.
3d6 down the line, boys. Let's do it.
Jesus
All right.
Christ.
Moving on, though. I'll do the yellow musk creeper, which is a plant. It's just like a weird fungus type kind of, or vine that's on a wall. And first off, it's challenge rating 2 and has 60 hit points. All right. Its armor class is only 6 though, so it's pretty much impossible to hit it. Has a 5-foot move and climb, right? But it has 60 hit points and regenerates 10 hit points around.
Wow.
What?
So it's a tank. Like it's fight or die with these things.
Right. And
Are they vulnerable to anything?
And it has false appearance, which isn't a stealth check, isn't anything. It's just while the creeper remains motionless, it's indistinguishable from any ordinary flowering vine. So like even if you know what to look for, technically rules as written, you wouldn't be able to see it. It just looks like something else.
Well, unless you roll like, you see a plant and you recognize it or something.
Yeah, like obviously, a DM would probably step in and say, "Hey, there's another one of these yellow flowers down here. Just looks like a different kind of yellow flower. Let's not be cautious whatsoever." Right?
I think at that point it's already too late because whoever is inspecting this has stepped right up to this thing to investigate it. And it's like by the time you roll that dice, you may have run into this before, but I haven't even heard its abilities yet. But I'm gonna assume it's nothing good.
Now, it regenerates 10 hit points around, but not if it takes fire, necrotic, or radiant damage. That negates its regeneration for 1 round. All right. But when you get to its actions, it has a touch, which is a melee weapon attack with +3 to hit, 5-foot range, and does 3d8 psychic damage. All right.
Ow.
And if the target drops to 0 hit points as a result of the damage, it dies.
What? Just dead.
It's dead.
What?
And its corpse is implanted with a yellow musk creeper bulb. And unless the bulb is destroyed, the corpse animates as a yellow musk zombie after being dead for 24 hours. And even if you have Revivify or something like that, it won't work. You have to use a remove curse spell or some other type kind of magic to stop the bulb from taking your buddy over and becoming a zombie. So basically, if you happen to be low on health and get on one of these things and it taps you, your character's gone. Like, just whoops. Big yikes.
This is a CR2.
What?
Yeah, CR2.
What the fuck?
That's 3d8 damage though. Like you're talking about
You can.
Just for reference, when I turn into a huge constrictor snake in our campaign, that also has 60 hit points.
Right.
Just so you have a frame of reference.
Like, you could just get one shot if you're a low enough level. Like, you're like the wizard, you got a D6 hit die, you have a 10 con, dead. You're dead. Done. Just slapped.
And that's just average damage. God forbid it rolls, max damage. You could technically take out like fighters and barbarians at second level, one shot.
But that's not its only ability though. Its other action it can use 3 times a day. It's called Yellow Musk. The creeper's flowers release a strong musk that targets all humanoids within 30 feet. So it's not targeted on one person. It's just if the party gets close, they can do it 3 times. They have to succeed on a DC 11 Wisdom saving throw or be charmed for 1 minute.
Fucking shit.
Yep.
What the hell?
A creature charmed in this way does nothing on its turn except move as close as it can towards the creeper. A creature charmed by the creeper can't repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect, or it can choose, So it can try to save each turn, but you basically, it can make your whole party just gather up around it so it can get touched.
Jesus.
Poke.
I'm gonna be honest, like, I expected to have at least be exposed to most of the monsters we talked about today. This is a first for me, and this is horrifying.
On the bright side, you can run away from them really easy. They can only move 5 feet.
But that's not the only thing that's kind of crazy about it, though, is that it creates yellow musk zombies, which are themselves a 4th CR creature they're basically kind of crappy zombies. They do have 33 hit points, which is pretty nice. So you might have a situation to where these things are just dead on the ground. The party gets close to it and decides that they just want to walk into the middle of an ambush of zombies. All right. But they do have undead fortitude. So if damage reduces the zombie to 0 hit points, it can make a Constitution saving throw with a DC 5 plus the damage it takes. And it just goes back to 1 hit point.
What?
Yep.
What are their? Yep. What's its con?
Its con is +1.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
And it has blind sight for 30 feet, so it'll definitely know you're coming.
What the fuck what?
I'm just imagining like a scenario where you take your party and you just say, you see a couple of people that are dead and decaying on the ground, and it's just it looks like natural growth, like nature's sort of taking its place in a jungle. And then they go up to investigate, and all of a sudden it is Fuckville. Population you. Like
you're getting slapped by zombies, you're getting touched.
The zombies themselves only have a 20-foot movement speed, and they do 1d8 plus 1 damage. 1d8 plus 1 damage, so they're not like a super huge threat. But it also depends on how many zombies you want to throw at your party in this situation.
I have a question. What's the strength mod on the zombies? Because I just got a horrifying.
It's 13. They have a +1. They have a +1.
So if you have a couple of zombies start grappling, oh man, that could.
Yeah.
That's awful.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm taking notes right now. I like this. This is good.
Please don't.
There's a section in
I am
every DM's
so...
journal where he has how to kill them when they piss me the fuck off.
And this is going straight right in that section. One of his players because they have a negative fucking con in his campaign. They're just gonna die.
Small echo problem again. Uh-oh. Yep, echoing again somehow. I'm not sure because I'm not hearing it on my end. And this is the first time we've had an issue with echo.
Am I echoing?
Skype.
The only thing that I could think is possibly, Cody, if you are using your speakers and have your mic out. That's the only thing I can think.
I've been muted unless I'm talking.
Okay.
Makes it sound like a much larger group.
Squad. Up in here.
But go ahead and
just
continue,
need to
guys, and I'll try to figure out our echo problem while we do this.
But yeah, the next creature is very similar to this creature. The 5th edition Assassin Vine, which is a CR3. This has 85 hit points and also has false appearance. So, yeah, you just can't see it. Just looks like regular plants. No check, no anything done against it. It just, yeah, you can't see this thing coming. You just think it's plants. So, it has a +6 hit with a reach of 20 feet. So,
what? I didn't see that earlier. It has a reach of what?
Yeah, it has a reach of 20 feet, so it's gonna yeet you from across the room.
Wow.
So here's the other cool thing is that you can put these guys on the ceiling, and it just looks like moss hanging down, and they can just grab you off your feet and draw you up.
Is it a?
Wait.
Is it a?
We're not talking about the.
No, assassin. Assassin Vine.
Okay, let me switch pictures. Sorry, guys.
Right. Yeah,
I was fixing the other thing while that was going on. No, Assassin Vine. All right.
The yellow musk creeper has a reach of 5 feet.
Okay.
If it had a reach of 20 feet, holy Christ. That would be way too ridiculous.
Coastal
the Assassin Vine.
Coastal says next year's Halloween episode is going to be terrifying. The thing is all it's gonna be is a greenhouse, and that's it. Like,
have you heard of my friend?
We set it on fire and walk away.
That's crazy.
But it does have a strength of 18, blind sense 30 feet, resistance to cold and fire, and immune to blind, deafen, exhaust, and prone. But when it smacks you, it hits you for 2d6 plus 4 bludgeoning damage, which isn't that big of a deal, unless you get out of its grapple. The target's restrained and takes an additional 6d6 poison damage at the start of each of its turns. Yeah. What's 6d6 poison damage?
What's the CR?
Cool. Oh, there's not one. You just take it.
No, I'm sorry. The CR for the creature.
Oh, the CR is 3. The escape check is DC 14.
Holy shit.
You just take average of 21 poison damage every time that
you're stuck in there.
Right.
Then there's no save against the poison.
No save against the poison. The save is get out of there.
Not even for half. Yeah. What?
Nope.
Well, it's because it's as long as you remain grappled. You just take that every round, so. Oof. Yeah, but... Man, this would be a terrible, terrible monster for you to have in your campaign because James keeps getting grappled, so he would die. It's
But here's where things get a little bit more, just a little bit of extra on the top. Entangling vines is this other action. The Assassin Vine can animate normal vines and roots on the ground in a 15-foot square within 30 feet of it. The plants turn the ground in that area into difficult terrain, and a creature that's in the area when the effect begins must make a DC 13 strength savings throw or be restricted by the entangling vines and roots. And they can make a DC 13 athletics check to free itself on subsequent rounds. The effect lasts for 1 minute, and it's just an ability that it can use. It's not X times per day. It can just keep doing that.
I would like to point out, like, unless I'm just missing something, which is like super possible and maybe even likely, that false appearances, while it's motionless and nothing in here says it using entangling vines makes it move. So it could like entangle you before even revealing itself, and you're just kind of like, oh god, what's going on? Oh god, that's what's going on. And
then you start getting hit, and because you get grappled by the vines if you get hit, right? You don't get a save against it. So if you're
in theory, yeah, you could have a party of 4, and if 2 or 3 people get grappled, it could just decide that it wants to hit the person that isn't grappled to keep everybody restrained.
just the head shake. Just the head shake. Oh,
and, man. 85 hit points, so it's a really quick play. So.
Is it like vulnerable to fire or anything?
No, it has resistance to fire and cold.
What? That does not make sense.
What's the type? Is it
it's a large plant unaligned.
Christ almighty, dude.
It doesn't move a lot. It's got a speed of 5 and a climb of But it's got 20-foot reach, so
I mean, you can still burn it, like
sure.
Host House 1. Like you can burn it. It just takes longer. The other thing doesn't have resistance to fire. I don't think so. I still say burn.
You
up.
can burn us more easily than you can burn the plant.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, the yellow musk creeper didn't have any type of resistances.
That's so dumb.
It had
That's
like
so
basic-
against logic. Plant does not burn good.
Yeah, Vermilion Hydra says this episode's over. We've gone over enough.
Oh, we're not even. We haven't even gotten to the stuff that screws him over the most yet.
All right.
I've got just the thing.
But yeah, my last creep, unless you guys had anything else to say about the assassin line.
No,
it's
that's great.
It's just terrifying. That's it. And the only thing not terrifying about this creature is that for the slideshow, I have it nicknamed Assvine, which it might be more terrifying depending on the context. So.
Oh no! Oh dear God!
All right,
So
let's go.
So you're saying you have cock, ass, and musk all in a folder for me?
I did not.
Fired.
I didn't relate the
Fired.
three, but yes, in fact, I do.
All right.
No, we're still going.
Abort.
So the last one's the best one. It's a higher CR. It's a challenge rating of 10, and it's an Elder Obelix. All right, and these things are basically giant blobs that can create people that look like normal people, up to 120 feet away, tethered by a little strip of goop. All right, so. They have blind sense of 60 feet and blind beyond the distance, or blind feet 60 feet wherever they send their like puppets out as well. They're immune to blind, charm, deafen, exhaustion, and prone. All that stuff's fine. But it has amorphous, which means the obelix can move through a space as narrow as 1 inch wide without squeezing. So if you try to run away from this thing and like go behind a door that has like a little crack at the bottom, it can just fully move into that room without taking any movement penalty whatsoever. It can just go right underneath the door. No big deal.
Not rough terrain or anything.
Just,
Nope. It has a
That's
version
the
of
noise
fire.
that came to all of us. We all think this large thing squeezing up under a door makes the noise bloop.
No, it's actually huge.
Huge, yeah.
Jeez, huge.
I have to ask, is this ringing any bells for y'all?
Oh yeah, for sure.
perhaps.
All right, but it has an aversion to fire. If it takes fire damage, it has disadvantage on attack rolls and ability checks until the end of its next turn. And innate spell casting with DC 18s on its innate spell casting. All right, at will, charm person at 5th level, detect thoughts, and hold person. It can cast hold person at will and still create little foes up to 120 feet away in completely different rooms. Okay. And 3 times a day it can cast Confusion, Dimension Door, Dominate Person, Fear, Hallucinatory Terrain, Hold Monster, Hypnotic Pattern, and Telekinesis.
God damn.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And then its main kind of ability is called Sulphurous Impersonations. As a bonus action, the obelix can extrude a piece of itself that assumes the appearance of one medium or smaller creature whose memories it has stolen. This simulacrum appears, feels, and sounds exactly like the creature it impersonates, though it smells faintly of sulfur. The obelix can impersonate 2d6 plus 1 different creatures, each one tethered to its body by a strand of slime that can extend up to 120 feet away. For all practical purposes, the simulacrum is, and the obelix, meaning they occupies the same space, is all I'm saying.
Oh.
The slimy tether's immune to damage, but if severed, it's severed if there's no opening within it that's like at least 1 inch thick between it and the main body. And if you do, like, I don't know, seal a door if you're fighting this thing in space or something like that, and you seal that link, the puppet or whatever that it has gets destroyed. Has multi-attack, can make 2 pseudopods attack that and use eat memories. Pseudopods deal 4d6 plus 3 bludgeoning damage plus 2d6 psychic damage. And Eat Memories is it targets a creature that can see within 5 feet. The target has to make a DC 18 Wisdom saving throw or take 8d10 psychic damage. And become memory drained until it finishes a short or long rest, or until it benefits from a greater restoration or heal spell. Capital H. Constructs or uses of plants, blah blah blah, automatically save on it. But while memory drained, the target must roll a d4 and subtract that number rolled from any ability checks or attack rolls that makes. Each time the target is memory drained beyond the first, the die size increases to d6 and then d8 and so on until it becomes a d20, at which point the target becomes unconscious for 1 hour.
Just to backtrack on that heal with a capital H spell, since we there may be some people in chat that don't know, this isn't a typical heal spell like you'll see Kashik cast, where she goes up and walks up to someone and does cure wounds for a couple of d8. This is I don't even remember the level of the spell. 6th?
What?
Maybe 7th?
Yeah.
Level
Heal
spell that heals 70 hit
6th
points.
level. Yeah, choose a creature that you can see within range. A surge of positive energy washes through the creature, causing it to regain 70 hit points. The spell also ends blindness, deafness, and any disease affecting the target.
Yeah, so this isn't like an easy fix.
Yeah.
Good to fix.
You get that spell after you have the ability to resurrect people.
So yeah, the Oblex is absolutely terrifying. And what's awesome about this creature,
there's one more thing.
Yeah.
When you become memory drained, you steal all that person's proficiencies, memories, and languages, except for proficiencies on saving throws. And as a DM, I mean, if this is going to be a boss creature, I'd throw in some other stuff. Like, it has the ability to cast spells. I mean, if you have an evocation wizard, maybe it learns Firebolt, or however evil you want to be, maybe Fireball. Or, if you touch a monk, it might, one of your little buddies out there might start doing a flurry of blows or something like that. But that's not in the stat block. But it's still fun stuff to play around with.
More ways to kill your players.
Hey.
Thematically appropriate.
We'll rename the episode. It's fine. Frightening foes. No, more ways to kill your players. I like that. It's got a better ring to it.
What the fuck?
Creatures not allowed in 2021.
So when I first read up on the Oblex, it was actually about how it came into being. And if I'm not mistaken, and I could be, but I remember reading a story that a child made this monster for wizards. So yeah, it was like I don't think it was Make-A-Wish, but it was a program something like that, and it was a child that played D&D a lot. So they got the chance to make a monster, and this is the abomination that they came up with. So it's
what fresh hell.
Right. It's
fucked up.
It's terrifying.
Kid needs more of mommy and daddy's hugs. That's wrong.
I also really like the black and white picture they have of this creature. I'm gonna link it to you in the Skype.
Yeah. I'll pull it up. While I pull it up, you do have a question.
He has that one up there, kid.
Oh shit! I thought you had the other one. Oh, it's in the slideshow. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, that's already done. So yeah, it steals your memory and learns your skill. Well, it doesn't necessarily say that it learns your spells, but it does get some of your memories and automatically gets your proficiencies. So you could theoretically grab a weapon that person was using if they dropped it, or if you disarm them or something like that, and then pick it up and add your proficiency bonus to those attacks and things of that nature.
Ugh.
I do have to wonder. So this thing eats memories of someone, right? And it makes a simulacrum of that person. And this person is a heavy armor expert, right? Like, and they make this simulacrum. Does it pop up with heavy armor on, or does it maintain the AC of the creature?
It's goop, right? So I think it maintains its AC and stuff all the same.
Yeah, it's not physically changing in any sort of way. It's just
right.
Yeah, just effect. Okay.
Unless the goop gets its hands on heavy armor.
I don't think it would maintain the heavy armor for too long. It would just dissolve unless it was magical. Then we have an Elder Oblex with heavy armor, and now look what you've done, Cody.
I'm just imagining like a really big like piece of chainmail just draped
Just
over the top of it.
goop.
Yeah, it's just draped over the top.
Well, I was envisioning like being in like an old like worn out castle or whatever with like armor on the little stands, or maybe like dead skeletonized knights laying around, and this thing like steals the armor proficiency from one of the players, and then kind of like, whoop, haha, that suit of armor that was in a corner is now occupied by a gelatinous jackass, here to make your day much worse.
Just hit you with the plate mail haymaker, like, oh!
Now, I don't know much aside from their stat block and that they're terrifying. And it says that they're always lawful evil. I don't know exactly how they're made, but just randomly thinking while talking to you guys, what if there were one of these that wasn't evil?
The good guy. Like,
right, but you could theoretically like have this thing like touch loved ones before if they were sick or something like that, and technically have some sort of weird place where you could go to like hang out with dead relatives, or have like the greatest show ever of an entire cast of people on stage, literally with little goop tethers. Just kind of on.
I mean, I see where you're going with that, but that is
Bard
creepy as shit, just for the
Yeah.
record.
Oh yeah, for sure.
yo, can we make this a playable race? Like,
No, never. Go
Well-
changeling, and maybe we can flavor some things.
not the same.
Isn't there a Goop Girl race in Starfinder?
What?
Well, I like the idea. I do want to say the Eat Memories ability does like 10d10 psychic damage. So this would be like the Kevorkian way to remember your loved ones, because it would kill them.
You better be a bad bitch, otherwise you're gonna die. You just show up, you're like, I can take it. And you keel over. Guess you
But
couldn't
I mean,
take
that
it.
is a
That's
good
crazy.
point. But like a lot of oozes don't have a lot of origin stories. I mean, even like, you know, the king of oozes, like Jubilex and all of that, his origins are just completely obscured. No one knows where they come from. So
Ooze King.
I say the ooze king,
Sorry, the Ooze King.
ooze demon lord.
Or you could have a more I guess a more entrepreneurial one where you have a college and this guy just touches all the best professors. Hey, I'm gonna come get a job here. Okay, great. Come for the interview. Dead. All right, you're hired. You're never leaving your office again.
Holy shit! How come you're available at all hours, Professor? Don't worry about it.
Oh man,
Don't get too smart, kid. You might just work here.
awesome.
But yeah, those are my fun.
Do we want to do honorable mentions at the end of each of us, or do we want to do those just sort of at the end of it all?
Well, I figure let's do that. Let's get through everybody's first.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Sure. Who wants to go next?
I can go next.
Go for it. What do you want to do
So-
first?
I'm gonna start off with the lower CR of my two, and this actually is very adjacent to Kent's Assassin Vine offering, and it's the Gargoyle. And while the 5e Gargoyle is significantly less inherently threatening than maybe previous editions were, in like 3.5 and I think in Pathfinder 2, like it can be a super nasty monster. It's pretty straightforward in 5e, because when we were planning all this, I went through and I looked over the stat blocks. And at first I was disappointed and thought I might not use the Gargoyle, because its hit points are down to 52. I think its fly speed's up a little high, but its overall challenge rating was brought down just because it doesn't do as much. Looking at this, it's only even doing 2d6 plus 4 damage max with its multi-attack. But I think thematically, if you're going to have like an area, a dungeon, a series of encounters, gargoyles can be terrifying creatures not in any given individual fight, but because it's so easy to say, in this abandoned castle or in this underground dungeon, maybe some of these monsters are gargoyles. Like you walk in the first one, maybe you get the players giving it the squinty eyes, but it's just a statue. They break it and nothing happens. And then the second one comes along and it's actually 3 gargoyles in a hallway, and they get some good hits in, and it creates a like an aesthetic, or not, that's not even the right, like an ambience of looking over your shoulder for the rest of the time you're in that dungeon or that castle or what have you.
Yeah.
Because you never know. Like, even if you only encounter 1 gargoyle, for the rest of the section or chapter, you're going to be given the squinty eyes to every single statue you see. And I think that, like, it's not necessarily what it can do to you, but the potential for a fight that it brings to so many situations that makes the gargoyle really a good creative use of a monster in a DM's handbook.
Yeah, that's a really good point, and something I didn't even think as far as qualifications for frightening goes. I didn't even think of like just the mood it puts the characters in, of that eye over the shoulder sort of throughout the entire dungeon or castle.
And I wanted to bring up, I forgot to mention, I said it's similar to the Assassin Vine because it has the same basic false appearance. For those that aren't immediately familiar with how that works with gargoyles, it's while the gargoyle remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from an inanimate statue. Like there's no check, there's no subtle breathing, there's no sign. Like if you were to have a gargoyle and a statue like right next to each other, like until you hit it or it hits you, there's no way to tell the difference. And like a statue, it has damage resistance to non-magical bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing. The caveat being adamantine weapons, but in 5e, every fighter's not running around with an adamantine greatsword.
Right.
And it has dark vision 60 feet. All in all, it has kind of a bland stat block other than its resistances. For a CR2, it's kind of beefy HP. And its false appearance, but it does a whole lot with just very little, and that's why gargoyles have always been one of my favorite, like, frightening mood monsters.
Well, see, the real thing you do is you get some gargoyles, right? And then you get a few cockatrices, and you get a whole bunch of people, and you petrify them, and then you put them up, you spray paint them a little bit gray, you put them up on some pedestals, and they have no idea who's coming to life then.
Ken says wombo combo these monsters now.
He said those are monsters. You should have a random adventuring party start to just defrost in the middle of a room.
Defrost.
They're like, help me! Like only they can only move their like mouth. Help.
At this point, they're just becoming unpetrified, and people start trying to murder them. Like, wait, what's going on?
What's happening? Oh,
well, in previous editions, because petrification was like a permanent thing. Like I know a lot of DMs did do adventures like that. Of here's this layer with cockatrices, or here's this basilisk's layer, or some other a Medusa's layer, and you intermix in gargoyles and animated statues and stuff, and it just fucks with the players' heads. So, but yeah, like. As far as doing a whole lot with very little, and making players look into things that are not encounters as potential encounters, I think gargoyles are some of the best bang for your buck you're going to get at CR2.
That's fair.
Yeah, gargoyles have always been terrifying. I think they're a little bit weaker in 5th edition than they were in 3.5. But that's good, because they were broken as shit in 3.5.
Like, why won't you die?
Just a flat 10 damage reduction against non-magical attacks. Okay.
Yeah, I think just giving it resistance instead is a lot better. It's like it still makes it nice and chunky. Like if you don't and if you're low level and you're fighting one of these things, you're probably not gonna have a magical weapon of some kind. So it'll still take you a minute to chew through its HP, but
the good thing about it is it's super. Like if you decide you wanted to have like a boss gargoyle or some like beefed up gargoyle, because they're so straightforward and there's not a whole bunch of complex mechanics, they're super easy to scale up. You throw on a couple legendary actions, double its hit points, and increase that to 1d10 plus 5 instead of 1d6 plus 2 or something like that. With very little tweaking, you can scale this monster up into higher level parties.
big.
Oh yeah,
part.
for sure. I mean, I could definitely see having all kinds of different weird monstrous gargoyles that have like reach on their attacks and stuff like that, just to add in extra things. Or if you wanted, like you were saying, have like a legendary creature gargoyle, maybe they have some sort of Medusa-esque ability to where they actually can turn people into gargoyles themselves. So it's like a petrification, and if you don't get cured in a day, you'll slowly start to shift into a gargoyle or something.
Ugh.
You know, I hadn't thought about that before, but I really like that idea.
Dear God.
Oh man, yeah.
All my friends are gargoyles.
I think there's something to be said about setting a mood for players and making your players paranoid. For anybody that hasn't DM'd, it's really D&D players are inherently paranoid. It's just part of it because they think their DMs are trying to kill them, and we are. There's no lying there. But there's something about setting the mood where you have them looking at every statue going down a hallway, and I think that's a really good thing. That's awesome.
So and that kind of rolls not quite as close as the assassin vine and the gargoyle, but a thematic approach of mood being important.
Mm-hmm.
This plays in with a few more special abilities. Is the cloaker, and this is another monster that I've really enjoyed, even from 3.0, which is what I started playing. And 5e actually added even more cool new toys to it. So kind of like the gargoyle, they dumbed it down. They took this monster that I already liked, and they're like, but what if we made it more terrifying? And I'm totally here for it. So just to do the rundown for everyone in the stream, it is a large aberration, chaotic neutral, with an intermediate armor class of about 14. It is a CR8 creature with 78 hit points, so that's a little squishy for a challenge rating monster that high. So it's not gonna stand there and throw hands with a full party. But while it has a 10-foot move speed, it has a fly speed of 40 feet. And out of all of its stats, the one that's a little threatening is its strength of 17. It gets a bonus to stealth, 60 feet of dark vision, and it does have an intelligence 13, so it's not like a traditional monster. So this gives the DM kind of the creative freedom to make it a plotting kind of creature, to do maybe some smarter tactical decisions than a beast with like 2 intelligence is going to do, or a plant with intelligence of 1.
That's a smart plan.
So its non-action abilities are damage transfer, and this is like if I had to pick one ability that just really makes the cloaker kind of a oh shit moment, is while attached to a creature, the cloaker takes only half the damage dealt to it, rounded down, and the creature it's attached to takes the other half. And there's not a save for this. It's just a flat, if you take 10 damage and you're attached to someone, as a cloaker, you take 5 and your target takes 5, and that's a thing. And the attachment comes from its bite, which does have a +6 to hit, which isn't crazy for a CR creature, CR8, but it's not like wimpy either. It can reasonably get attached to someone, especially if it's getting the drop on you, and it has advantage. The other non-action abilities are false appearance. While the cloaker remains motionless without its underside exposed, it is indistinguishable from a dark leather cloak. So I've seen it used in the dark in dungeons, but with that you can also, there's stuff with cloakers, like I remember earlier editions of D&D, I don't know if 5e does it, they would have like flavor text paragraphs of encounters. And the flavor text paragraph for the 3 monster manual was a person getting smothered to death in his bed by a cloaker and someone coming in, but it was too late as it went skittering out the window, and that was really creepy. The guy just went to lay on his bed, and the cloak that was draped over a chair just jumped up and smothered him to death. It does have light sensitivity, so that's a downside for it. But despite being a weakness, almost all monsters that have light sensitivity, that kind of almost adds to like the alien horror factor. So talking about like vibes and how players perceive things, you have that horror movie vibe where it's like, oh man, get to the surface, get to the sunlight, get outside. By giving them a safe space, it kind of creates a situation where you're running away. So that's also kind of cool. They have multi-attack, that's pretty standard. Other than the enveloping aspect of its bite's pretty standard. The tail has a 10-foot reach. The other two abilities, which are not just basic, hit or be hit, is its moan. Each creature within 60 feet of the cloaker that can hear its moan and that isn't an aberration must succeed on a DC 13 Wisdom saving throw or become frightened until the end of the cloaker's next turn. And just like most things, like
moan is a terrible choice of.
I was about to say, I was very afraid. It's like you become charmed.
Call it
and
the
you're like,
screech. Call it the scream. Call it the whatever you. Just don't call it the moan. Like, come on, wizards.
I'm just saying.
What are we doing?
If they're gonna call it moan, it should be a charm. It should be a charm effect.
God.
Well,
you just get charmed by the cloaker.
But it's a pretty standard fear effect that can affect some of your low wisdom saving throw party members. And here's the one that I don't remember it having in previous editions that kind of jumped out at me with the 5th edition version and is neat. Phantasms. It's an ability that recharges after a short or long rest. The cloaker magically creates 3 illusory duplicates of itself if it isn't in bright light. The duplicates move with it and mimics its actions, shifting position, making it impossible to track which cloaker is the real one. If the cloaker is ever in an area of bright light, the duplicates disappear. Whenever any creature targets the cloaker with an attack or harmful spell while the duplicate remains, the creature rolls randomly to determine whether it attacks the cloaker or one of the duplicates. This thing basically gets the mirror image spell, usable once on a short or long rest.
So what that sounds like to me, fireball. You're either gonna destroy all 3 of them because explosion or bright light. Get
here's my shocked face that you suggested fireball as your solution.
But I think
it just works.
Go ahead.
So unlike the gargoyle, which I think is more of a passive ambience type of thing to add that terrifying feel to a campaign, the cloaker, between its abilities with the damage transfer, the enveloping bite, the phantasms, the moan, its stealth and its intelligence, allow the DM to, especially it's like a CR8 creature, but use it against a party level of 5, 6, or 7 level players, depending on how competent they are. And the cloaker can hunt them. It can use its abilities multiple times. It can wait for a really good opportunity to strike. It can be, in an urban area disguised as a cloak. There's a lot of good options for it. And I think if it's something you're not expecting and it comes out of the blue, and then suddenly your wizard's got some cloak creature on its face, and then you hit the cloak creature and bludgeon your wizard for 20 points of damage, and now you're kind of like, fuck.
Right.
Get him, guys!
I had a question. So, if you're grabbed by this thing, can you still attack it and take half damage from your own attacks?
No, I don't think.
Let me go
That's
back.
a good point. Oh my god.
Here, I'm gonna read out the full block for it. Bite, melee attack, +6 to hit, reach of 5 feet, 1 creature, dealing 2d6 plus 3 piercing damage. If the target is large or smaller, the cloaker attaches to it. If the cloaker has advantage against the target, the cloaker attaches to the target's head, and the target is blinded and unable to breathe while the cloaker is attached. While attached, the cloaker can make this attack only against the target and has advantage on the attack roll. The cloaker can detach itself by spending 5 feet of its movement. A creature, including the target, can take its action to detach the cloaker by succeeding on a DC 16 strength check. So yes, you can hit it. It doesn't say anything about you can't. But I think the real threat here would be either getting a player by itself, or it landing on a squishy member of your party. And if your players freak out and don't immediately think it through, they could very easily bludgeon their wizard or rogue into unconsciousness.
Think of this outside of a party setting though, right? These things have an intelligence of 13, which means you could hire these things to be assassins. You go into your tavern or inn room at the end of the night. There's a black bathrobe hanging up for you, ready to go for the morning or whatever. You go and knock out. They have advantage on the attack, and something throughout the night, you're dead.
Yeah, that's
nobody
the-
else in your room
No, no,
is
no,
like,
no.
God.
I want one as an actual cloak. Like, I want to be bros with this guy.
Yeah.
He's like, hey man, how you doing? Fuck you! Then a cloak just flops up and grabs him. It's like the really evil version of Doctor Strange.
Dude, could it carry you so you could fly? Can it
I-
just lift
what's
you up?
it-
You have like a harness rigged to the
What's
cloak.
it? It's a large creature with a strength of 17 and a fly speed of 40 feet, so technically?
You want a cloak or
I don't know.
cloak? That we have to make it. I'm
I
writing
want
it
a
down.
cloaker buddy.
Cloak or cloak. It's got to happen somewhere, sometime, someplace.
But yeah, what you're saying about the that flavor text I was telling you about in the 3E manual, that's what happens. Guy goes to bed, there's a cloak sitting on a chair, he doesn't think two things about it, and then gets
Yeah.
smothered to death.
Jeez.
I feel like they just take away from the scary factor by calling it a moan, though. Like, can you imagine, like, you're going through a tunnel and just somewhere in the distance you hear, "Oh yeah," like,
but it's a really scary moan. So you're like, dear God, I must flee. Oh, mom, you don't want it. You don't want to know. You don't want to know Gandalf's intelligence. It's not high.
It's 8, right?
Yeah,
I'm
it's 8.
dumber than this thing
By
a
like
lot.
5 points.
By a lot. It is significantly smarter than me.
Jones, if you want. Well, I don't know if we have permission. That's a. I linked the flat bear thing in there, which reminded me of the cloaker. I don't know if we have permission to put that on stream though.
Too bad. No.
Let's see.
Ban.
I don't know. I'll. What is this?
It's a comic.
Oh, Ogloff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, no, we'll stray away.
Let's not do that.
Indeed.
We'll stray
How
away.
But yeah,
about-
I never realized that cloakers had such a huge intelligence though. Like, yeah, I definitely will probably have to incorporate hired cloakers. There seems to be no reason not to have hired cloakers.
I have a formal request in chat for me not to ever make that particular moan ever again.
Or can I get a Hoya?
I can make no such promises.
Little does she know, we have yelled that into the night on our back porch.
Oh Lord.
So in my final selection isn't a specific monster, but it is any monster, generally like a humanoid or a goblinoid monster, like orcs, bugbears, hobgoblins, lizard folk. But this suits to anything, even like if you were to throw it on a beholder or a dragon or a drider, is monsters with class levels. And the reason I brought this up as something particularly like terrifying is both as a DM and as a player, I've experienced that it is unnerving to have abilities which you think of as being, this is in my toy box, and then now you're getting sneak attacked for like 3d6, and you're like, oh dear God, why is this kobold hurt so bad? Or you roll up on a group of lizard folk, and you're like, 5 lizard folk against 5 players, that's no issue, until the lizard folk priest in the back is actually a cleric and hits you with guiding bolt, and now you're like, oh shit. And so a really, really, really easy way to add gravitas and threat, and depending on how bad it is, like a little bit of pants shittingness to an encounter, is to give run-of-the-mill creatures and monsters and humanoid enemies a few class levels or abilities from class levels, especially ones that the players are going to recognize, and kind of have them be like, wait, have we made a mistake? Why is this bugbear raging?
Like when they just cast fireball.
Yes, fireball, Ian. We all understand
Yeah,
fireball.
Dude, fireball.
And I know that's not maybe not verbatim the spirit of this stream today, but I feel like in the spirit of like how to really scare players, how to create scary encounters, how can you make a monster encounter something that makes you kind of go, fuck, you know, you have your 15-minute break in the middle of the session and your players are going, I don't know what we're going to do next. that really contributes to that. So what are y'all's thoughts on that as a primary mechanic?
I think there's a place for it in being scared of surprise, or the element of surprise as a player, right? Like putting your players up against, one kobold walks up to them and says, turn around to your player, see, your level 2 party or level 1 party, and they're just sitting there. It's one kobold, and then all of a sudden this kobold casts fireball or scorching ray at the party, and all of a sudden your entire party is just shit their pants and they don't know what to do. Like, all of them are less than half hit points and are running, so maybe some of them are down. The element of surprise is incredibly scary. Like that ability to just hide behind those sort of preset notions that you have of what something is it can be a player's downfall. Absolutely.
I think it's really good when you have a lot of utility aspects, because monsters don't inherently, most of them don't have a lot of stuff that interacts for them to like co-support each other during an encounter. I mean, you have a few that have like pack tactics or something like that here and there. But I think what defines the player party as opposed to enemy groups is the mindset, the ability to do something, and then the mindset to do something in support of each other. Blessing the barbarian right before he goes ham and curse smacks someone, or the cleric casting guiding bolt, or using web to hold someone off before they can run away while your fighters go in and do the work. Sneaking in with everyone using magic to get through sentries and stuff, and using that cooperative concept with monsters, and player class levels really contribute to that ability. Allow monsters to turn the table with that utility and that cooperation in a way that can affect against the players, that you're not really going to get that outside of using player class levels. So it's kind of a vague party v party mechanic, sort of, but still with heavy monster themes, because it's still orcs or it's still kobolds. They're working together now. It's that tactical edge.
Yeah, I totally agree. One of my honorable mention, or what I was going to put on here, but I guess now is probably one of my honorable mentions, was actually going to be kobolds, just because they breed like crazy. And so if you're like, I don't know, 1% of the population can be wizards. Well, if you have kobolds in a hole for 10 years, statistically, that's going to be a lot of wizards, you know what I'm saying? And just because, a lot of times when I guess it kind of goes along in the same vein of having certain creatures with player levels, but if you have creatures that sort of play to their strengths in a more PC-like manner tactics. I mean, I know like kobolds and goblins and orcs and stuff, pretty much all goblinoids or green things kind of get crapped on as just being like, oh, here, they're dumb meat fodder, just send them in there. They have like single-digit HP, no big deal. But I don't know. I know like Matt Colville did a video on it of having like small creatures where you make them come in and out of really small spaces that other people can't get into, and they have like reach weapons to like poke them through holes. And like kobolds seem, in my opinion, are like their racial ability in 5th edition, or for like groveling and stuff, seems like something that you should actually play into their character. Like, oh yeah, kobolds are no big deal, and then you have them like come into an area and all of a sudden they're getting stabbed literally through the walls, through a bunch of little holes with like 15 long pikes, and getting advantage for pack tactics or some crap like that. And a wizard has cast grease on you, and then someone set the grease on fire, and you're like, wait a minute, whoa, we're supposed to be just killing some kobolds, and now all of a sudden you're going to be the main course and you're going to be cooked, and someo's throwing spices on you from a room above.
you got the kobold salt bay, like it's just over the side, like, go fuck yourself.
I've had this worked against me as a player a few times, but probably one of my favorite times I did it as a DM was I had my players going after, and they were about level 3 or 4, and I had them going after a lizard folk, and they knew he had class levels of barbarian, so that part wasn't the surprise. But and they knew he was ruling a tribe of kobolds, so that wasn't a shocker when it wasn't a fucking 1v5, 1v6. It was kind of a big party. But an equivalently character leveled lizard folk, an equivalently character leveled shaman that I had supporting him, which had cleric levels, or sorcerer levels, I can't remember. And they went in, and there were like kobolds in the trees, and it was highly tactical, and a few of them had like it was like 4 kobolds led by a level 1 rogue each, which a level 1 rogue against level 3 and 4 party members isn't that threatening. But the fact that everyone was playing off of each other, the rogues were flanking and backstabbing, the shaman was buffing the shit out of the barbarian, who just went full force with this big anime-looking giant sword. And it was an encounter that once they realized kind of what they had gotten themselves into, they were doing that whole like giving each other looks across the table, and I was over there like, yeah, you look at each other in panic now, boys. And it turned what could have been a kind of a fetch quest with some combat in it into something really creative and a little bit scary, because I think a couple of them went down. They didn't die, but they went down. And it was that cooperative effort brought by character levels, and that's why class levels on monsters is my third and final offer for today's episode.
Yeah, I think just the way that 5th edition's structured, with having characters have the ability to give advantage to other characters, makes weaker packs of enemies just a lot greater, just a bigger threat. You know, like in 5th edition, you could just literally stand completely surrounded by kobolds as like a 5th level character and plate armor, and there's like a very small chance that you could even think of being hurt by anything. But yeah, advantage is a pretty big deal. Advantage will make you move.
And you go, do not like where I'm standing. This is not good. Stab.
When you've got 8 kobolds around you, and then some goblin off to the side casts heat metal on you, but you can't get to him because of all the kobolds around you, and you're just like, oh no.
I am burning today. That's some toasty armor. Joke's on him. Resistant to fire damage.
All right.
Comfy.
Awesome.
A little warm. Good
Thanks,
gravy.
man. Ian, you want to go next?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
You let me know what you want to start off with.
Yeah, I'm gonna be starting off with my lowest CR with the Shadow. And I kind of chose mine a little bit, kind of how Kent did, but also kind of they are general spook factor in general, just for they're creepy a lot of the times, or can be, especially like if the set dressing is right. But starting off with the Shadows, which they're medium undead, and they're evil as shit. They are only CR 1/2, so it's very likely to encounter these pretty early into a campaign. They don't have a ton of hit points or much of an armor class, like armor AC 12, about 16 HP. They do have a speed of 40 feet, so they can keep on your ass.
Chase you down, yeah.
They can chase you down, and they have a +4 to stealth, so they can hide like a motherfucker. They're resistant to all kinds of stuff that's non-magical, as well as some other things. Dark vision up to 60 feet with passive perception of 10. They can't talk, so can't negotiate with these guys. They can, like, as the ooze, the obliques, the ooze, they are amorphous, so they can move through a space as narrow as 1 inch wide without squeezing. So similar to how the ooze can chase you just for free through a door, these things can do the same thing.
Why did that go Russian? The obliques.
Obliques, I don't know, man. I haven't gotten to play D&D in too long, so I'm like,
Gandolin's just creeping through. Soon Ian will become Gandolin.
I'm just gonna get really fucking stupid. Anywho, they also then one of their abilities is Shadow Stealth, and while they're in dim light or darkness, they can hide as a bonus action.
Ooh.
So they can hit you or just like if you see them like hit you, like run away and whoop, they are weak to sunlight, which is I guess problematic, unless because it's not light, it's not just regular light. So unless you can cast sunlight, they don't give a shit, and you're not gonna just encounter these just out and about, right?
Right.
But their attack, their action, which is the awesome thing, is called Strength Drain. It's a melee weapon attack with a reach of 5 feet with a +4 to hit, which ain't bad for a CR1 half creature. It can only hit one thing. On a hit, it does 2d6 plus 2 necrotic damage, which most of the time you're not gonna have much resistance to, and the target strength score is reduced by a d4. So 1d4, just strength of yours is gone, and of course, if your strength is reduced to 0, you die. Otherwise, the reduction lasts until you finish a short or long rest.
Ability damage.
And if a non-evil humanoid dies from this attack, a new shadow rises from the corpse 1d4 hours later.
So wait, it's a non-evil?
Yeah, the shadow itself is evil, but if a non-evil humanoid gets killed by this thing's attack, a shadow will rise from it 1d4 hours later.
So if a shadow were to kill you, Kent, a shadow would rise, but if a shadow were to kill Ian, nothing would happen.
Correct.
Yes.
Just like that, baby. But yeah, so like they're and they're not super like tanky or anything, but because they can hide so easily and they can pursue you so easily, the fact that they do strength damage and that they can hypothetically reduce your strength to 0 and kill you. Like if you're wizard or whoever if somebody happens to have dumped their strength and has an 8 strength, if they get hit by like 2 of these things, they could hypothetically die outright. Does not matter if you're level 20, like it hits you twice, your strength is reduced to 0, you die. And these things can be a threat no matter your level if there's enough of them.
What's the HP on them again?
Like 16, not high. Average of 16, 3d8 plus 3.
Okay.
So they're not super tanky, and you can kill them pretty easy. But if these things get the jump on you, or even if they're not outright killing you, it lasts until a short or long rest. So if you're frontliner, if you're fighter, if you're barbarian, if anybody who's attacking with strength gets dinked by a few of these things early into a dungeon, or if like they're a reoccurring threat, like they're popping in, hitting you, and then running away and just hiding, and they're just kind of harrying you as you go through a dungeon, they're just steadily weakening you. If you get to a boss room, like you don't get the chance to rest, and you have to get to a boss room, and your barbarian, your fighter has been reduced, they're like by like 4. That's a pretty big hit to your ability to fight.
That's so 2 things. One is just reading the stat block. I noticed once it hits you and you take that necrotic damage, the strength damage is just another thing that happens. It's not like when you're hit, roll a save against it. So that's
it just happens.
Right.
Like an intellect devour.
So you ping that off of the fact that as a player, I've never used him as a DM. I guess just I haven't done that much when it comes to undead and stuff. But as a player, I've seen them used mostly in like en masse in like the graveyard ambush as the players are moving up to the crypt or something like that. And you just kind of look up and there's like 6 of these motherfuckers around you. You're not likely to be fighting, just from what I've seen, a lot of DMs, you're not likely to be fighting just one.
Absolutely.
So it's not like, oh man, we got hit by this one and we lost a couple points of strength. But like, if your barbarian gets in fight range, so y'all squish half of them the first round of combat. Let's say there's 6, and y'all just smoke 3 of them right off the bat. They roll super low on initiative. If all 3 of them hit your barbarian, on average, that's 9. Well, 6. Yeah, we'll say 6. That's just 6 points of strength right off of him before y'all have done anything.
Yep.
And that's assuming perfect. Y'all wiped out, most of them in that first round. Heaven forbid they roll more than 2. Heaven forbid you don't kill half of them in the first round of combat.
Well, they can hide as a bonus action, right?
Yeah.
I was just about to bring that up.
They can just run out from behind in your scenario, a gravestone, go, fuck you, and then go back and hide.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, like that's
Have
what I'm
fun
saying. Like
hitting me.
these things can be harrying you as you go, and maybe you're whacking one of them with your opportunity attacks. Like you guys are dusting a couple of them, but they just keep coming and they
Right,
keep
that's
coming.
I was
Not
saying
to
the
mention-
caveat
Oh
of
yeah.
ideal circumstances for the players, it can still go really poorly.
Well, not to mention if you're like actually paying attention to encumbrance, these things are reducing your strength, so you can't carry as much. And if maybe like some of the gear you guys are carrying is kind of keeping you teetering on the edge of how much you can carry before you're encumbered, y'all might have to start dumping gear in order to even keep going.
Yeah, I mean, you
And
got to think
that
about
could
the
be-
5e strength requirements for heavy armor. That's a strength
Yep,
of 13. So if you have your paladin in full plate or something like that, and your I mean, easily all of a sudden they're over encumbered. They're just sitting there like not able to lift their weapons. Like you got to think of what sort of mechanical consequences that can have on someone.
Yeah, and the thing is, this doesn't specify whether you can dispel this effect through any magical means either.
It just says
Like,
short or long rest.
It just says short or long rest. So unless your DM is really kind, they'll just go, can't do it. Or if like somebody could, I use lesser restoration on them or greater restoration. You just go,
What's their
your strength
charisma?
is still reduced. The charisma on the shadow is 8.
Okay.
Charisma is not high. Their intelligence is a 6. They're a
you
little
would-
dumber than Ganon.
I just glanced over the spells. Lesser Restoration specifically states it would not affect something like that. You would need at least Greater Restoration, which is a 5th level spell. You get rid of one of the following effects, and it is any reduction to one of the target's ability scores. So you can unfuck yourself at the cost of a 5th level spell slot.
Right. So it's doable, but you're gonna have to burn spell slots.
You have to
and-
burn a 5th level spell slot.
Yeah,
and
like
this
a
is
high level
This
spell
is a
slot.
CR 1/2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you-
that's what but that like even under the hypothesis, like even that's like at higher levels, like it's still a threat because if nothing else, you got to burn the slots. Like, and if these are something that they are a reoccurring monster, yeah, you only got so many 5th level spell slots even at higher levels,
Yeah.
and it sucks if like you got one. Like maybe you're lucky and somebody's packing sunlight and y'all are just like, oh. But
That's
even
fine.
sunlight's also a high level spell.
The reason
So-
I asked about their charisma is because it does seem like they're pretty good dancers. Like, they're slow dancing with that dude in the picture.
Word.
I
Yeah,
think
man.
I think that's murder. That's called
No,
murder.
dude.
I'm pretty sure he's killing
he's-
it. Like they're dying.
They're totally slow dancing.
That's
for
called
sure.
death. How,
Is it?
I don't know how you're slow dancing, but please don't slow dance with people with your hand over their mouth from behind, kid. That's not how you slow.
Is that?
We'll talk after the stream, okay?
Wait, aren't you supposed to have like a chloroform kerchief whenever you slow dance?
Whoa! All right. What's next monster there?
All right. So the next monster I was going to talk about is a banshee, the classic, or a classic. There are a lot of classic monsters in D&D.
There are a lot of classic monsters.
But yeah, they are. If y'all can tell, I have a theme for a lot of my stuff here. It is an undead. It is medium. They're chaotic evil. They also have a 40-foot fly speed, so these things could also run your ass down. They are CR4, so they're significantly higher than the Shadow, but still not a super high level monster. About 58 HP, AC of 12, so they're pretty easy to hit. A lot of damage resistances to most elements and to non-magical like physical attacks. They're immune completely to cold, necrotic, and poison damage. So that's nice. A lot of conditioned immunities, all that fun stuff. They can detect life up to 5 miles away, so they will know your ass is there,
Wow.
assuming you're alive. Yeah. It does
5 miles.
specify that she knows the general direction they're in, but not your
Oh.
exact location. So you have that.
Okay.
But
But if
they'll
you
know
come
you're
into her swamp, she'll know.
Yeah, she'll know. She'll just screech at you in like Scottish screech.
5 miles away, though. I know your general location 5 miles away. Like,
So this
she ain't got
thing-
nothing but time. What else is she
Yeah.
gonna do?
Yeah, so you're gonna run into like traps and maybe some of her minion, like like some zombie minions or something on your way in. Like, you're gonna run into shit. They can move through things as if they were difficult terrain, and they'll hurt themselves if they're stuck inside of it for some reason.
Right.
Their melee attack isn't anything special. It's a melee spell attack, +4 to hit with a reach of 5. On a hit, you take 3d6 plus 2 necrotic damage. So that'll hurt pretty bad, but she can only do 1. Horrifying Visage. Every non-undead creature within 30 feet of it that can see her must succeed on a DC 13 Wisdom save or be frightened for 1 minute. You can repeat the saving throw at the end of your turn with disadvantage if the Banshee is within line of sight of you, and if you end it, then it ends and you're immune for 24 hours. So this is mostly like a start of the fight issue where you guys might be dealing with some people being frightened and either not able to move up on it if you're a melee, or just not being able to hit it very easily if you're either a ranged caster or like an archer or something.
Right.
Now their big thing that makes them scary as shit. Even at higher levels, it becomes less likely that it's terrifying at higher levels, but it can still happen because ones are real. As they can wail once per day. They release a mournful wail provided that she isn't in sunlight. This wail has no effect on constructs and the undead. All other creatures within 30 feet of her that can hear her must make a DC 13 con save. On a fail, the creature drops to 0 hit points. On a success, they take 3d6 psychic damage.
Wow.
So you can potentially have a bunch of people roll like shit and die.
Just keep your party right there.
Not only that, if you have like a larger team that has a front line and initiative round goes through its first phase and all the melee people run up and all the caster people are on the back, it's got a nice fly speed. It can just go through your homies and go, okay, how are all you casters enjoying these con saves?
Yeah.
And get knocked out.
Yeah, it's a con save. So it can kill it if like your healer, your person who could hypothetically bring your people who are at 0 back up with like a mass healing word or something. Can't. There's 0 hit points. They're busy making death saves.
And like, heaven forbid it has ads. Heaven forbid you didn't come up to it fully fresh, and maybe you succeed your con save, but you were pretty roughed up, and that 3d6 on a fail's nothing to laugh at. That can like still be a relevant amount of damage.
So at least your entire party ish is going to take 3d6 damage from this at the least, and if anybody fails it, they're down. And so if you're a high level party, you're like level 7 perhaps, you've got some people that have almost 100 HP. Maybe your cleric doesn't go down, they're able to mass healing word and bring you back up, but it just did hundreds of points of health damage in 1 turn just because you failed your save. And now, even if like you kill this thing, if that wasn't like the final boss of the area, if you're higher level and that was just a thing that was along the way, you're now down a lot of like your resources in game. Like you guys are now hurt badly.
Just to clarify, because I kind of forgot that there isn't such a thing as negative hit points in D&D. So when it says you're at 0 hit points, you're making death saves. You're not just
that's what I'm saying.
Down out of the fight.
Yeah, you were down and having to actively make death saves, so you could just die. Like this could be an instant party wipe.
Yeah.
If you're unlucky enough, like if this is like this is the base template, and maybe you beef it up a bit, give it some more HP, give it some spell casting, and like you give it like Bane, and it banes 3 people, and then it wails, and they have to take a D4 off of their con save, and all of a sudden that DC 13 looks like it's a lot harder to hit. Or if they bump it up, and now it's a DC 15 because this is the boss Banshee, this is the head Banshee.
I don't know, like you're looking to kill players, or at least to really scare your party. If you bump up that DC, like even your high level party, if you bump up that DC, that is absolutely terrifying, because your low con players are going to be the ones that's going to bring your party up. Like
just drop.
Yeah, and if it drops your casters, or drops your cleric, drops your paladin, that could be GG's. That's like, terrifying.
The possibility of TPK that comes from
the area
that
of
one
effect,
ability
I think, is
horrifying.
The area of effect is what I think it makes that ability most terrifying. The 0 hit points is an ability I've seen before, but typically like that's a one-on-one thing.
Yeah,
Right, it's not an
this is
area of
30
effect.
feet. This would be a whole, like, and I'm imagining, like, even if it's not your party, maybe your party is like supposed to be assisting some NPCs, and all of a sudden these NPCs that are with them just all drop dead.
Yeah.
Even if you all succeed, your NPC buddies are fucked because
Yeah.
you just watch a bunch of people just keel over and die.
Yeah, you know, Kent. I was gonna bring up the moan, but I didn't. I was gonna say, you know, Cody, this is what
That's
you
what I'm
name
here for.
this is what you name an ability, like a whale. That's okay.
Yeah, this is a whale.
Hey, I
This
didn't
one's
pick that name for the cloaker.
Wizards, if you
So-
stumble upon this episode,
Wizards of the Coast, come on.
rename moan, please.
Yeah. So these things just their ability to possibly just completely with one ability be like, okay, we're fine. Oh, we are so not fine is horrifying because it's like a breath weapon, but worse. Because just like I can tank it. No, you
Well,
can't.
it's also cool, like, reading over the Banshee's stat block, it brings to mind that, like, we're going over the stat blocks of all these monsters and looking at their abilities and their, like, health and to hit and skill abilities and stuff. But there's a lot to be said for the pants-shitting factor of really good narrative involvement from your DM. And I think that the Banshee, like, looking at the themes and the telling, the detect life especially, and the incorporeal movement, horrifying visage, that's a whole ass toolbox for a DM when it comes to setting up a good narrative. Like, as a main bad for like a level 4 adventuring party where a CR4 is a reasonable, like, mini boss, there's a lot you could do with that. There's tools to create a terrifying area. Like, maybe they have multiple encounters with the Banshee before their final throwdown. One of them is the Banshee floating through their fucking bedroom wall at the tavern they're in and attacking the rogue, or, you know, something that, like, Ian was saying, the whale, just seeing a bunch of NPCs they've been traveling with for days that they've grown accustomed to, and now they're not there anymore. All of these contribute to that pants shitting factor, that terrifying foe energy. So outside of the strict numbers, the Banshee just has a lot of toolkit for being scary by itself.
Yeah, especially if it comes in with the round 1 ambush and you know, send half the players to dying, and then of the people that are remaining, half of those just go yeeting off in terror. You have like 1 or 2 dudes from a big party just sitting there like,
like, yeah.
let me get this potion out to try and save these people from dying real quick.
Well, even
it could be
before
a
Massage
run.
their neck into glugging down this potion.
Yeah, even before a single hit point has been lost, though, there's stuff you can do. Like, they set their first foot in the path of the swamp where the Banshee's lair is, and just immediately you start hearing screeching, and you're like, what?
Oh yeah.
Or
the Banshee's flavor is very creepy and spooky.
yeah, but it does it better than some other monsters, I think, that
Because
are
it's
also
got-
supposed to be creepy.
It's all got- yeah, they're supposed to be creepy, and like, yeah, being able to go through solid walls and being able to fly. Like, it could be hovering above the tree line and you just see it, and it's warning you to back the fuck off, basically, or something. Like, it can do its recurring thing because it's faster than you. It can fly. It can go through anything it wants. Like, you're not gonna catch it if it doesn't want to fight you, probably.
I think something that I want to speak to as well, as far as the Banshee goes, and some of these other creatures as well, is we're all nerds here, and we enjoy how mechanically scary these things are, and but some of the lore behind a Banshee, just the fact that, and I can't say that I'm extremely well versed in Banshee lore or anything like that, but this is, you know, basically the undead spirit of a woman who is so angry that she's just stuck around forever, like, who resents something so much to the point. Well, like, she resents something that an imprint of her former life was left on this earth, and that's like, that's next level to me.
That's the kind of thing I was talking about, like the non-numerical things that make a monster scary. We focused a lot on the numerical things that make a monster scary, but theme and flavor and Yeah.
Well, the thing is, these guys, you can build them up as scary before they fight them, but then they've got the numbers to back it up.
Yeah.
Like that, they are scary after initiative is rolled.
Yeah, I mean,
you can
I
really hype something up, and like it has really creepy flavor, but then it doesn't have the numbers to back it up once initiative is rolled. You kind of like it's kind of a letdown. You're just kind of like, oh, this sounded a lot scarier before we actually started fighting it.
Yeah, I wasn't slapping it down from a stat perspective. I was just saying, like, I really appreciate this monster specifically because I feel like it's got a lot of gunpowder off to the side, just in flavor.
Oh, most definitely. Like there can be a lot of build up and tension before it's even like on screen or in like in a fight part of the narrative.
Kostas brings up a good point. It said it actually makes them a little sympathetic, which I mean, especially if it wouldn't necessarily work in our Saturday campaigns because I don't think I have the most sympathetic party. But if you have a more sympathetic party, you could like close your mouth. You're not the most sympathetic party, plain and simple.
What do you mean?
But if you have a more sympathetic party that are, looking to redeem a creature like this, they could make them even more dangerous. So yeah.
We're a bunch of good guys. We do nothing but help people.
I will give us credit, we're not murder hobos, but we're not much better.
Hey, only one person in this party burnt down an entire dock.
Right. What do you want to do next, Ian?
So next is actually as mentioned earlier, a basilisk.
Oh shit! Okay.
Just turning everything this time.
Yeah. Clearly somebody wasn't reading the chat when we were talking about what monsters we were talking about. Cody. Well, yeah, basilisk. So similar into the realm of the cockatrice, I guess. This is not undead. It's just a medium monstrosity, and they're unaligned. Hey, so you could get like one, and it could be your pet, maybe. They're really stupid though. They have an intelligence of 4. Anyway, they have a kind of middle of the road
smart for
CR.
Yeah, that's like just under a really smart dog. Like maybe like or that's actually probably the intelligence of like a German Shepherd or smarter.
Luke could be a basilisk. But anywho, they have a middle of the road AC of 15, 52 HP, speed of 20 feet. So they're not super speedy. They're not gonna be running you down, hopefully. Only a CR of 3.
All those legs and only a 20-foot movement speed.
Oh yeah, all those legs that basilisk has.
It's for torque, not speed.
Good lord. But they are a CR of 3, so it's not super like you could be seeing these pretty early on in your adventure. But their big thing, I guess I'll go over their melee attack first. They can bite you. +5 to hit, which isn't huge, only 5-foot speed, 2d6 plus 3 piercing plus 2d6 poison damage. So actually, that one bite can actually hurt you pretty bad. That'll sting a smidgen. But their big thing is their petrifying gaze, and so if you start your turn within 30 feet of it, and the two of you can, the basilisk and the two of you can see each other, it can force you to make a DC 12 con save, as long as it isn't incapacitated. If you fail the save, you'll begin to become stone, and you're restrained if you fail it the first time. You'll have to repeat the saving throw once more at the end of your next turn. On a success, it ends, you're good, but if you fail it, you are petrified until somebody frees you by a greater restoration spell or other magic. So unlike the cockatrice, you're stuck until somebody turns you out of stone. And that can really screw you. And even if you don't, you're going to spend if you fail it the first time, you're going to spend an entire round incapacitated. So people can just wail on you pretty easily. Like you're going to be getting smacked up. So if you're running into this thing as like somebody has them as like like basically like their hounds or like as guard animals, they can really screw you up. Like pretty bad. Like it's harder for you to hit things. It's easier for things to hit you. And if you're trying to dodge anything, really hard to do that. It does have the downside of if you happen to be carrying around like a big ass mirror and you just hold it up, it will try to petrify itself because reasons. They just go, I don't know that strange basilisk, and it tries to just bow. And it may very well.
Wait. This is written down somewhere. Is this?
Yeah, it's down at the bottom. It says if it looks at I'm sorry. If the basilisk sees its reflection within 30 feet of it in bright light, it mistakes itself for a rival and targets itself with its gaze.
No save, no intelligence save or anything. It just
Nope. It'll just go, holy shit! There's another basilisk here. I gotta get his ass.
Jesus.
And it will get to make its own con save with a whopping +2. But it could. That means it has a 50-50 shot of just turning itself to stone.
These things are gonna go extinct.
Well, it does specifically say
I was trying to give it a compliment earlier whenever, but can you imagine if it like just a particularly placid lake and it walks by one day and it's like, oh shit.
It has to be bright light. It has to be bright light though. Like maybe they inhabit. I think they might inhabit more like caverns and stuff where there's not a ton of bright light around.
Oh, do they?
Because they have dark vision out to 60 feet, so they're kind of.
I thought they were just
more like cave dwelling creatures.
Oh, okay. I was under the impression they were like temperate forest.
Yeah, it doesn't say they have a dark vision out to 60 feet, so I kind of assume.
Yeah, that makes
sense.
sense.
And due to that weakness, you think like, man, we're seeing a lot of snake statues around this lake. That's kind of weird. That's so strange. Who's been putting these here? Oh God, we ran into some basilisks. I guess that's why. Just over the years as a buildup.
Right.
But that's my assumption. So they could just like and they're just like I like them more of an idea as like somebody who's tamed them. And it's like, yeah, we just have pets that turn people to stone if we don't like them.
Yeah, so
like they make such good guard animals. Like you're trying to sneak into a place and you think you snuck by it and all of a sudden your DM goes, make a con save for me, and you go, uh-oh.
Yeah, 3.5 puts them as inhabiting warm deserts.
I guess there isn't a ton of water in deserts. Not a lot of. What if they see a mirage that looks like another basilisk?
Well, mirages don't reflect, thankfully.
I know, but like, are they trying to petrify the mirage? Like, it's like, ah.
Probably, if they get no saving throw, I would probably give it an intelligence saving throw. I would probably house rule that.
That. Like I said, they're not geniuses, so
they have an intelligence
still a rough
2.
save.
You have an intelligence of 2, which is your standard. Like they've got all the brain power of like a deer.
Oh, I thought he said they had an intelligence of 4.
No, I said they have intelligence of 2. I said they have a -4.
Oh,
yeah,
that's a huge
they have
difference.
Dose.
Oh, okay, so that's not like a German Shepherd at all.
No, that's what I was like. I did not realize.
I thought you said an intelligence of 4, which is like a German Shepherd level.
Yeah.
2 is like
2. -4
or something.
Yeah.
They're not geniuses.
Okay.
The way Wizards has it set up, vermin, insects, and borderline sentient creatures are at 1, animals are at 2, and then this part I'm less sure about, but I think like monstrous creatures tend to hover more around 3, like smarter than an animal, but really not sentient truly. So that's the 3-point scale I generally go by because of the way they had it set up in previous editions. That might have changed, but I think they kept it the same.
Well, I think most more intelligent animals have intelligences of 3. I mean, like stuff like horses still have an int of 2, but
yeah. Petrification, scary.
Spooky. Yeah, petrification is just horrifying, and unlike the cockatrices, this don't wear off in 24 hours. Like,
right.
You are stuck that way if you don't.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, petrification can definitely send a message. I know there is a city in Eberron that's run by Medusas, and when you break the law, they just petrify you and leave you there in the city to make sure other people don't break the law as a message.
That shit's
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
A ton of people. It's a pretty law-abiding city. Crazy. I wonder why.
Someone new to the city.
Dave
There's
over
so much
here.
statuary here. Oh, that's Kevin. He was a pickpocket.
Exactly.
He didn't quite understand the way we do things around here. Anywho, I know we are getting close to our time, so we'll kind of speed run my last couple so Jones can do his.
It's all good. We got a lot of content to cover.
Yeah, we do. My next one is Devourer. We're returning. Oh wait, actually, I don't know why I thought these were undead. They're actually not. We're not returning to my theme. We're not returning. Only two undead.
To be fair, it looks undead.
It does. That's why I keep wanting to think it's an undead. They are large fiends, and of course, because they're fiends, they are chaotic evil. They are CR 13, so we made a bit of a hop. in difficulty for these between monsters. They have an armor class of 16, so still kind of middle in the road, but can be kind of hard to hit sometimes. But they hit points of 178 on average. They're chunky boys. They're gonna take a minute. Resistant to cold, fire, and lightning. Immune to poison and the poison condition. 120 feet of dark vision.
I thought you were going to say of movement, and I'm like, good God,
Yep,
that is...
they can haul ass. No, they do not have that much movement. They have 30-foot movement speed. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier on. But yeah, they apparently they have telepathy out to 120 feet. I didn't see that earlier, but regardless, but they speak abyssal. They have pre-standard for something that higher CR. They have multi-attack. They'll make 2 claw attacks, and they can use either Imprison Soul or Soul Rend. Those are fun. We're going to talk about those shortly. Their claw attacks, plus 10 to hit. They will smack you pretty frequently on one target. On a hit, they do 12 or 2d6 plus 5 slashing damage, plus 66 necrotic damage. They get to do 2 of those every turn.
What?
Them hoes hurt. So you're like, oh, 2d6. Oh, that's a lot of necrotic damage. Holy shit. So on average, on a hit, you're going to take 33 damage.
On one hit, and they get 2 a turn.
On one hit, and they get 2 of those. So if you get hit twice, on average, you're going to take 60-something damage. It hurts like a bitch.
Right.
Like they are not nice. And so on their first other thing that they get to do during their multi-tech, which is Imprison Soul, they can choose a living humanoid with 0 hit points that they can see within 30 feet of you. So if it downs one of your party members, that creature is then teleported into its ribcage, because as you can see in this art, it's kind of got the empty ribcage thing going on there, and they're imprisoned there. A creature imprisoned in this manner has disadvantage on death saving throws. If it dies while it is imprisoned, their devourer regains 25 HP, immediately recharges Soul Rend, which is its other ability that we'll talk about, and gains an additional action on its next turn. Additionally, at the start of its next turn, the devourer regurgitates the slain creature as a bonus action, and the creature becomes an undead. If the victim had 2 or fewer hit dice, it becomes a zombie. If it had 3 to 5 hit dice, it becomes a ghoul. Otherwise, it becomes a wight. It can imprison only one creature at a time. These things are pretty fucking scary.
Christ almighty.
Yeah.
Disadvantage on a 50-50 die roll is that you're destined to fail that. Like,
Yes.
You're gonna crit. It's fine.
Yeah, if you get a 20, you'll live. But you have to roll 2 20s.
Exactly.
You have to double 20 in order to instant res. And you're still stuck in its chest. I don't know what happens if you res inside of its chest. It doesn't really say. But its last ability that recharges when it kills something with Imprison Soul. Soul Rend, which is a recharge. Oh, did I mention that there's no recharge on Imprison Soul? So it can just keep slurping things up every time something dies in its chest. Every time. Soul Rend, however, does have a recharge
bursting on a double 20. Yeah, either that or he regurgitates you.
Yeah. Soul Rend, which does have a recharge of 6, so it can't just constantly do this unless it kills things over and over again. The Devourer creates a vortex of life-draining energy in a 20-foot radius centered on itself. Each humanoid in that area must make a DC 18 con saving throw, taking 44 or 8d10 necrotic damage on a failed save, or half as much damage on a successful save. Increase the damage by 10 for each living humanoid with 0 hit points in that area.
Wait. Read that last part again.
Increase the damage by 10 flat for each living humanoid with 0 hit points in that area. So for every one of your party members that's down in that zone, that damage goes up.
Christ almighty.
Wow.
Is this for when the DM is tired of the campaign?
This thing is part of the reason I wanted to talk about whites, because this thing can make them. I kind of wanted to explain why that's scary.
I mean, this thing is, with that scaling damage with downed people and its ability to create ads mid-combat, is like the
which
definition
heal
of a
it.
death
It
spiral
heals
monster.
It heals it. Also, when it creates an undead ad, it heals it for 25 flat. So if you have some like NPC guards that are helping you fight this thing, like if like the alarm bell rings and you guys come running out of your tavern and there's a couple of slain guards already and one of them's in its chest, like it's gonna create like a fucking zombie when it finishes off that guard. But it also is going to heal every time it kills and eats one of those guards while you guys are sitting there trying to kill it. And it's not like it's squishy in the first place.
And it's going to deal increasingly more damage to you.
It's resistant to like everything but cold and what, psychic damage?
It's only resistant to cold, fire, and lightning. So it doesn't have resistance to like slashing and bludgeoning or anything.
Okay,
so at least you have that going for you.
Block for it. Okay, well, that's good.
In 5e, it's only resistant to cold, fire, and lightning. It's immune to poison.
Yeah,
so if you're trying to poison bitch, it's not gonna happen. It's also smart. It has an intelligence of 13. So these things can be absolutely horrifying.
When Wizards turned it from an undead to a fiend, because it was an undead in previous editions, it looks like they adjusted some of its resistances and things.
Yeah, to match. Because it definitely looks like it's an undead, but it is scary as fuck.
Because it used to be.
Because it is. Yeah. That's a spooky boy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, you look at some of the artwork I got going for it on the stream and whatnot. It's like, I don't know, two beings. You see it's got an empty chest cavity, but in most of these that I'm seeing, there's another little smaller evil creature. And in this one right here, actually, he's like got a human wrapped up in his thumbs going through the human's eye. It's terrifying.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that, but it doesn't say anything in its stat block about there being a second thing in it. It doesn't say.
Right.
Maybe there's supposed to be.
I guess that's a fresh convert or someone getting converted.
Well,
yeah, maybe that's when it's regurgitating it.
Well, I think visually, stylistically, they didn't change the way it looked when they changed the version of it. The previous undead version of it didn't like gulp you up and spit you out later. It like you stayed there and it used you until it had burned your life essence out as a fuel source.
That makes sense. That's also creepy as shit. But yeah, they're on the bright side. It says their environment's the Underdark, so they should mostly be down there. Maybe.
Wait,
don't stay down there.
It's a fiend. That environment is the Underdark. That's interesting.
Pretty weird. So on the bright side, you shouldn't run into a bunch of these like terrorizing towns, but if it's a fiend, it can be summoned, right? Like you could have some evil sorcerer that has one of these things like a minion, sends it out to just murderate towns.
I feel like that could go south for you very quickly.
Yeah. Like that's
I'm gonna summon this thing, and now I'm a snack. Like,
oh no! Yeah, I don't know. I didn't say it was a good idea. Evil people usually aren't like out here being like big brain plays all the time. Like they're like, I have a really good plan, and then they just fuck up by being like, oh yes, I can control this powerful evil entity. Like, oh no, now I'm a white that serves this thing.
Now I'm a Cheez-It.
So they could like this. This is such a. Oh, they're so gross.
And that's when
like they're gross looking. They can fuck you up. Like super like. I can't imagine having to run in one of these things and have it being described like as the open chest cavity with some like rotting bits in it or something from its last victim. But ooh, I don't like them, Sam. I am.
Their abilities are just that's pretty terrifying.
Oh yeah, that's good stuff.
So moving on to my last monster is the Retriever. It is not a puppy.
The Golden Retriever.
One of these things like gold plated.
Man,
just flexing on other people. You got a Golden Retriever. Like, hey, all your evil buddies are like, hey, look, I got mine, gold plated. Fucking losers.
The Bezos of the Underdark.
They're not just in the Underdark, shockingly enough. Anywho, these aren't even technically alive. They are a construct. They're big. They're large. They are CR 14, so we're sticking in the same realm as the Devourer with an AC of 19 though, so they're pretty hard to hit. even for some higher level party. They have 210 hit points though, so they are chunky, with a speed of 40 feet as well as with like a walking speed of 40 feet as well as a climbing speed of 40 feet, because they are, I believe, as you can see in these pictures, giant metal spiders. So I don't like them just because of that. I hate them with a fiery passion. Don't like spiders, Sam. I am. These things actually have saving throws with Dex, Con, and Wisdom, like the bonuses, perception of +5, and a stealth of +8. So they can hide like a motherfucker from you, which is kind of part of their job.
What are these called again?
Retrievers.
It's a retriever.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, they have blind sight of 30 feet, and dark vision of 60, and a passive perception of 15. So hiding from these things is not easy at all. They speak a bunch of different languages, but they can't talk. And some of their abilities are Faultless Tracker. They are usually used to find things, so that when they are given a quarry by their master, the quarry can be a specific creature or object the master is personally acquainted with, or it can be a general type of creature or object the master has seen before. It will know the direction and distance to its quarry as long as the two of them are on the same plane of existence. The retriever can only have one such quarry at a time, and it always knows the location of its master. So it will find you, and it will fucking kill you, or retrieve you, as their name suggests. So you can't hide. Literally, it is impossible if it's after your ass. It does have innate spellcasting as well. It's not very broad range of it. I don't know why it says that it has a spellcasting ability save. Oh wait, because it also knows that other thing. Okay, it has two things. I'm sorry. There's two things it can do. It can do plane shift 3 times per day. So it can just if you're on the plane of fire and it's supposed to get you and it follows you to the plane of fire, it can just do that. It will just follow you wherever you go between planes. And it can do that 3 times per day. So unless you're plane hopping like a motherfucker, it will follow you. It can also cast web, so it can just put a bunch of sticky shit on the ground, make it harder for you to run, or you might be stuck. That's always not good, especially when a giant metal spider is making its way across that web towards you. Because fuck spiders. Of course, it can make a multi-attack with 2 of its 4 legs, so it can give you the poke, or one of either its force beam or its paralyzing beam, if they are available. Its 4-leg attacks have a +11 to hit, so they will hit you probably, for a 2d8 +6 slashing damage. So not like a ton of damage, but it's probably going to hit you and can do it twice. And then its force beam it will target only one creature but within a 60-foot range. That target must make a DC 16 Dex save, taking 5d10 force damage on a failed save, or half that on a successful one. So it hurts pretty bad, and that does not have a recharge. So it can be making 2 claw attacks and smacking somebody with that every turn. And then its paralyzing beam, which is where its big thing of being a retriever comes into play. On a recharge of 5 or 6, it will target one creature it can see within 60 feet of it, and that creature must succeed on a DC 18 con save or be paralyzed for 1 minute. The paralyzed creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. If the paralyzed creature is medium or smaller, the retriever can pick it up as part of its move and walk or climb with it at full speed.
At full speed.
At full speed. So it can do it as part of its movement too. So it can make both of its attacks, paralyze somebody, run 10 feet or whatever to grab you, and then use all of its remaining movement speed to just keep going. And that's they're not super terrifying in combat. They've got a good chunk of health and they're pretty hard to hit. And they can hit you pretty hard, but what's terrifying is that they can then pick you up. And if they need to run away, they can just use that innate spellcasting of theirs and just plane shift out. And your buddy, your party member, whoever it was after, fucking gone. And they just run off. God forbid there's more than one of them participating.
God forbid you don't have a way to plane shift.
Yeah, these are CR 14 creatures. So you should hopefully have either your DM's a massive asshole and is sending these at you when you're way too low level, or you're gonna have a way.
Well, just because it's something you can get access to doesn't mean you immediately have it on hand.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and you also have as far as I'm aware, you might not have any way to know what plane it went to.
Yeah, I mean, scrying.
Like you're gonna have to find your person first.
Yeah, but scrying is on the same plane of existence.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for those in the chat and everything, plane shift, I mean, you're moving them off of the material plane and somewhere to like the abyss, or what is essentially hell, or there's just infinite amounts of dimensions out there, or pocket dimensions out there that it could go to. It could take you to its own, and which is kind of terrifying, just like its own little pocket dimension that's just filled with webs and just other things that's retrieved.
I mean, if it's a retriever, if its master has a pocket dimension or something, and it just goes straight to that pocket dimension, and just drop
what's the intelligence on it?
They have an intelligence of 3.
Okay, all right, so not super
duper
bright.
smart. That's why they're constructs, and they're generally going to be used as like hounds,
right?
By someone.
Yeah, which they are. I think in lore, these guys are used by Drow to go into, and they send these things out to go into the abyss and grab demons, because Drow do super weird sex rituals. We're going to continue this racy theme that we've had for tonight. The Drow do super weird sex rituals with demons to make things like driders and dragoloths and shit like that. But like these things, they send these things out to go grab these demons and then plane shift them back to them. It's just terrifying. This is a demon hunting machine.
Yep. Or just a fuck your party machine, because they'll just steal people.
Yeah, you piss off the wrong people. God. Can you imagine?
And like they have so much health, like the odds of you killing it in like one round, not good.
Yeah.
Especially the 19 AC.
Yeah, like I'm saying, it's gonna be they're pretty hard to hit, and they have that big of a health pool. Better hope somebody has like fucking polymorph or something. Like they are really they're just spooky. Like not even from like, oh, they'll party wipe you, but they can just run off with someone, and now you have an entire thing where you got to try to chase their fucking ass down and try to get them.
Yeah.
They're just creepy. They're especially creepy for me because I hate fucking spiders, but that's not the point here.
That personal bane right there.
Don't like spiders.
Network issues, and I logged back into here. Weird sex rituals. So these
let's
things.
Let's just say if you're a drow, being valedictorian at sorcerer school isn't going to be a good time for you.
So basically, drow create these retrievers to go and get demons, because drow have this thing of doing weird sex rituals with demons to make like fiendish sub races of themselves. Yeah, but it's not just driders. It's
right. That's just as an example.
Yeah, driders, dragoloths, lots of different things. It's really fucked up. There's not a better term for it. I was gonna try to think of a better word for fucked up, but I can't.
I've like nothing in the Underdark is good.
Yeah.
nothing down there is a good thing. Like it's just awful down there.
But yeah,
down there.
God forbid you piss off someone with a lot of resources and a lot of money to make one of these things that always knows where its quarry's at, and then it just plane shifts away.
Plane, it has to be on the same plane as you.
Yeah.
But even if somebody inhabits a different plane but they know you're there, they can just go, all right, they're on the material plane, and just shows up there and it's like, there you are. And
yeah.
Runs after you. Because if it can just receive instructions on where to go, it will go there.
Which there's not a lot of reason to spend a lot of time on other planes of existence, especially if you're from the material plane, considering not a lot of them are friendly or great to be on or survivable like at all. You could get lucky and like make it to Elysium or something like that, but you wouldn't find something like this there. Like you would just most other planes are just awful.
Yeah, that's mostly why I put that on there, is just for the possibility of like, y'all pissed off someone really powerful, and or maybe someone specifically in your party pissed off someone really powerful, and now they want your ass.
Glad none of you guys have done that in the campaign. But yeah,
we would never do something like that.
This guy's going around collecting children, and he can't be that powerful, right? I mean, come on.
I heard he looks like a bitch.
He?
Well, he did have a canine head,
I don't
didn't
know.
he?
I heard it looked like a bitch.
All right. Anything left to
Yeah,
add about the
that's-
retriever?
I've got nothing else. I've said my piece on them. They're fucking weird.
Terrifying spiders.
Well, the pretty intelligence, you can teach them to fetch and, roll over. And
I would hope that you could teach them to fetch. That's kind of their whole job.
So I know we are going a little bit over, so I'm going to speed run some of my stuff. So I won't go through all those stat blocks and stuff. I'll just kind of go over the main points of what I've chose because I don't want to keep you guys here for too long. So let's find these real quick. I did my my sort of criteria for frightening foe as two things: mechanically scary and aesthetically scary. So that's kind of the approach that I took to it, and I've chosen three things and based them, and I'm going to order them based off of CR, which is their challenge rating. Basically, the level your party would need to be to take on a creature like this. So I have a low level, a mid level, and a high level / boss creature. So starting off, I've chosen the Vargul, which is something I heard about in 3.5 and read a lot about, and actually just put my party up against recently, or at least a reskinned version of these things. What they are in lore are, well, I mean, as you can see, they're disembodied heads. They're technically fiends, but they fly around, and you can see that most recent picture right there, that's from 5e. They've definitely taken a turn to look more human-ish than they did before, where the 3.5 picture that you're looking at right now, that picture is obviously calls back to their more fiendish nature. But they definitely look more human in the 5e update. They're CR2, so, or I'm sorry, CR1. They were CR2 in previous editions. And they're not too scary as far as AC or hit points or anything like that. They do have a fly speed. They don't move around on the ground. Obviously, they have no way to do so. They do have a bite, which is, there's nothing really special about their bite or anything like that. And I'm just kind of looking over it again. Their bite is a poison effect. If they bite you, you make a con save. If not, you're poisoned, which gives you disadvantage on attack rolls. That's just sort of mechanical stuff. They let out a shriek, which if you've seen our main campaign, you've seen this effect. They let out a shriek and a blast, and it paralyzes you if you fail to save. And I believe Gorham caught the worst end of that because he got paralyzed and could not make the save for his life. Granted, he got to do it at the end of all of his turns, but he couldn't make it. But that's not what's scary about them. It can make for some fun, like even though they are CR1, it can make it like I threw 7 of them at the party, and it was a fun little encounter for them. But that's not what makes them scary to me. More aesthetically so, and less in the sense that where I flavored them, where the fiendish part sort of comes in. The Varguls have an ability they call the Kiss. This is the precursor to the Moan, but it's called the Kiss. The Vargul kisses an adjacent paralyzed victim who must make a DC 14 con save or be afflicted with a disease, transforming them into a Vargul over a 24-hour period. Within 6 hours, the victim loses all hair. Within 12 hours, their ears grow long and pointed, and their teeth become fangs, and tentacles sprout from their head and chin. Within 18 hours, the victim loses 1 intelligence and charisma point each hour, for a total of -6 intelligence and charisma. Within 24 hours, the victim's head breaks from its body, sprouting wings, killing the victim, who has become a Vargul. Sunlight of the Daylight spell delays the transformative disease, but only lesser restoration, greater restoration, or heal can cure it.
That's
So,
shitty.
yeah.
What's their environment?
They're
These guys are
fiends.
just trying to get ahead in life, okay?
Right. But like, where do they generally appear?
Oh, I actually looked over here, and they're actually small undead, which that sticks more with my theme. 3.5, they were fiends, so that's interesting.
So that in 5e they made them undead.
Yeah, that's what it looks like. But yeah, like these things go anywhere. Like the Mad Scientist Dungeon is what I had them in.
Right.
you could have them literally anywhere though, as far as undead goes. Where undead fit, they'll fit.
I'm just imagining, like, what if you're stuck somewhere and you're down below? You can't get to sunlight to delay the transformation.
Yeah.
So you're like, you can't delay it until you get to someone who can restify you. Restorify.
It's while it's not mechanical, because I think you'll have a lot of chances since it does take 24 hours. You have a decent amount of time to start doing stuff. But this transformation starting, and the fact that if you don't get somewhere, say you are, days and days in the Underdark or something like that, like if you can't make it out and none of your party has a lesser restoration spell ready to go for you, or maybe just no one has it, you don't have a cleric in your party, your head will rip itself from your body, becoming this creature. And that is absolutely terrifying to me, because you don't have to be unconscious for this to happen. You just have to be paralyzed. Yeah.
Not to mention,
sucks.
like, that's such a creepy thing to happen. Like, even outside of, like, even if it doesn't happen to your party, if they're like wandering in these caves or this dungeon or wherever it is, and they're seeing a bunch of headless, like, skeletons or like more recent corpses, and it's like, huh, why are these things all missing their heads? And all of a sudden, like, fucking screaming winged heads start assaulting you. Like, oh.
Yeah, like it's an undead that has the ability to reproduce, and that's terrifying to me.
Yeah, it's fucking weird and creepy
And
gross.
CR1.
See, I totally forgot about the slide. I should have put them on my list. They talked about reproducing creatures through PCs.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Ugh, yeah,
Honorable
I'm
mentions.
good on that.
But yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
there you go.
glad that the versions we fought did not have the weird kiss thing.
For the record, I am still seeing at every single reference document I found, they are still fiends.
Oh, okay. I don't know what block I have, but it says small undead, neutral evil. This is what I used against y'all. This block right here.
Yeah, on the 5e tools it does say tiny fiend.
Tiny fiend. So there you go. Yeah. Which I removed the kiss from them because it didn't really make sense, because I was using them as constructed undead sort of
Yeah.
deals.
Yeah,
For
I'm just saying,
our themes,
glad they
but
didn't
yeah.
have it, because fuck that noise.
Yeah, I mean, Gorham could have gotten a big old kiss, and Gorham's head could have, Gorham's head could have started trying to detach itself from his tiny little body.
I had restoration. He's fine.
We would have had to know that we needed to do that.
And you
though.
You can see from that one picture that you keep your beard too, so
Yeah.
you're doing like a special.
Well,
a special-
Yeah.
even though on
Big-ass
this one it says
beard.
they lose all hair, so it's interesting that in the 5e official art so I'm probably not looking at something official, that it says they lose all hair, but on this one they do in fact keep it.
That's so. That's just gross.
What's your middle of the road offering there, sir?
My middle of the road offering is a classic D&D monster. It is so classic that it has found its face, if you can call it that, on the front of at least 2 Wizards of the Coast handbooks, and that's the Beholder.
Yeah.
Beholders, for those of you who don't know, and you can see it right there, are a large mound of flesh. They're just a floating ball of flesh with one large eye, a gigantic toothy maw, and several eye stalks that poke around its body. What's up? What's funny?
Toothy maw.
Toothy maw is so good, dude. Shout out to Matt Mercer.
We got our Matt Mercer here with us in fucking chat. You know?
I see you got the false transparent background.
Yeah, I just downloaded images. So,
Nice.
It
so
happens.
beholders are their backgrounds are a little bit no one really knows where they come from. They're assumed to come from what people know as the far realm, which is, think Lovecraftian hellscape, like that you never want to go to. And as a matter of fact, it's like in D&D lore, if your character steps foot into the far realm, your DM could be nice and give you a wisdom saving throw, but if you step into the far realm, you're going to lose your mind, plain and simple. But that hellscape has birthed these terrifying creatures. Beholders, from what I know, don't actually reproduce, going away from our racy theme, but they do dream. And if you see in one of these next photos, there's multiple different types of beholders. When they dream to life other types of beholders. And typically they try to kill each other because these creatures are so paranoid that everything is out to kill them. They build their lairs in such defensible ways, so no one could ever come in and kill them, and they try to kill anything that it has birthed, dreamt to life, however you want to say it. But let's talk about some abilities that it has. This is a CR 13 creature, or this is interesting, or a 14 when it's encountered in its lair. So its lair, that whole building its lair, so because it's a paranoid creature, is actually reflected in some of its stats. So its bite, not worth talking about. It is just a bite. Big toothy maw, gonna chomp you, easy peasy. The scariest part, or actually we're not gonna get into eye stalks quite yet. That big eye in the center acts as a anti-magic cone. 120 feet anti-magic cone, 150 foot cone is what this says. And it depends on which way they're facing. But 150 foot cone, in any way that they look, no magic can happen. It just stops. So they look at your caster is now completely ineffective. The best your caster can do while the beholder is looking at them is throw a dagger at it. That's awful. You've rendered some of the most powerful DPS in the game completely useless when they're looking at it. You have eye rays on beholders, which are these eye stalks, and they have absolutely terrifying abilities. They have 10 of them. The first one is a charm ray, which charms the person and gets them to fight on behalf of the beholder. A paralyzing ray, which all of these have DC looks to be 16 saves. A paralyzing ray, which I don't have to tell you what it does. It paralyzes people. A fear ray, which frightens someone for a minute. And for those who don't know how fear works, you cannot move towards the creature. You have disadvantage on saving from the fear if the thing's in sight. And yeah, it's not great, especially for your upfront fighters. A slowing ray, which slows you down for a minute, meaning you can only take one action, move or reaction per turn. You have to choose. And
these descriptions are crazy.
An innervation ray, which is you take damage. Innervation ray, you just take 36 necrotic damage, 8d8, so an average of 36 necrotic damage. So that's just straight up damage. Telekinetic ray, which means it can move you around. If you don't beat the DC 16 saving throw, you are restrained by the ray. And let's see. Oh, I lost my spot. I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're restrained by the grip of until the start of the beholder's next turn, or until the beholder is incapacitated. It can move you into 30 feet of any direction. Hey, we got a follower. Unfortunately, you're under. Oh, Coast House 1 followed us. Thank you. Hell yeah. On that path to 50. If you're hanging out with us right now, I'm gonna quick plug, go and drop a follow. We are so close to 50 followers. I think last I checked we were at 47. So, oh, is that another one? Recursive Android. Thank you. Or does that put us to 50? Somebody check for me while I continue blasting through. We're so close to 50 followers. So let's make that happen tonight, guys.
Voting that.
All right, Sleep Ray, DC 16 Wisdom saving throw, or you fall asleep and remain unconscious for 1 minute. You awaken if you take damage, or if you take damage, or if someone takes your action to wake you up. Now we get into the scary ones. All of those are frightening in and of themselves. These are the scary ones. Petrification Ray. We've already talked about tonight all the reasons why petrification is completely terrifying. This one has it on an eye, and it looks at you, and you make a DC 16 dexterity saving throw. On a failed saving throw, you begin to turn to stone, and you are restrained, and you have to repeat that throw at the end of your next turn. On a success, the effect ends, but on a failure, you're petrified until you're freed from some sort of magic. Disco ball go brr is an understatement. It is 100%. And I have to say why I said disco ball at the end of this, because I didn't say this. Disintegration Ray. Disintegration, for those of you who don't know, is absolutely terrifying. It is a sickly green beam of energy. Like, wizards get it, sorcerers get it, that sort of thing. Actually, I don't know if sorcerers get it. Wizards get it. But Disintegration Ray is exactly what it sounds like. It hits a creature. It does for a beholder, it does 45 force damage, 10d8, which that's different for players, but
it's because it's not disintegrate.
Right, it's not the spell. It's a disintegration rate. But on average, 45 damage. If that spell reduces you to 0 hit points, you turn to ash.
Dead. Gone.
You get Thanos snapped out of
reduced
existence.
to ash. Reduced to atoms.
There is no revivify. There is a... Hey, we got another new follow. They are pouring in. Thank you so much, guys. AJ Vanza, thank you. That has to put us at 50, right?
That does. I believe that puts us at 50.
Thank you. AJ Vanza, our 50th follower. Hell yeah, let's go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much love. And then last
Spooky
one.
Meatballs.
Spooky meatballs.
they do the trick.
Last one is a death ray.
Yeah.
The last
I wonder
ray,
what that does.
The last ray is called a death ray. The targeted creature must succeed on a DC 16 dex save or take 55 necrotic damage. The target dies if it's reduced to 0 hit points.
You're dead. You're dead, Jim.
The scariest thing about all of these things, all right, those last 3 are absolutely awful things that could happen to you, right? It gets 3 of these in 1 turn. Your entire party could be disintegrated, could be petrified, could be deadified, all in 1 turn.
To be fair, let's not get it twisted. They do have to roll to determine. You have to roll to determine which one of these eye beams gets used. It can't just sit there and go disintegrate, petrify.
No, you could.
Death ray.
That's a
every
DM
turn.
thing.
That's fucked
You could
up.
be lucky enough
That's
to be
fucked
like,
up.
your whole party's slow right now.
You're a bad man. Actually, you can't because you can't do duplicates. It does say reroll duplicates
Does it
on
say
its stat block.
I see. Yeah, I see reroll
You're
duplicates
slow,
on this.
you're charmed.
I
and
would
you're-
like-
It's not
I would
supposed
like
to
to-
shoot the same ray.
It's
a
not
bunch of
supposed to.
times.
I'd like to reiterate on DM's discretion.
Your
These
DM
things
is
can
a
get
bad person if they're doing that shit to you. They're like, they want you to die. They're like, man, y'all pissed me off earlier. Fuck you.
You could either die or you could die by random chance. Meh, doesn't really matter.
I'm just saying. I mean, yes. Yes, it does. I will say. It does
Beholders are like they are so, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, synonymous with D&D. Like these things are
Iconic?
What's the word? Iconic is the word I'm trying to think of. I can't think of it right now.
Is it synonymous with iconic?
No.
Damn it.
Anyways, it is everything you know of Dungeons and Dragons that is not a dungeon and or a dragon. Like, beholders have always been there and they will always be there, and they are so terrifying even today in 5e. They remain terrifying. So and there's different kinds of them, which we could spend a whole fucking episode on, and we really should, but because they're all super interesting. But this is my middle of the road encounter, which leaves my last one, and I went a different route. I did not go I did not go a typical
It's the
high
flump.
CR creature. It's not the flump. Don't get your hopes up.
Yo, Gilly.
Oh, don't get me started on that voice.
That shit's hysterical.
I actually went for my last creature. I went for a boss creature of D&D. This is something that you wouldn't encounter until you were an epic level 20, around a level 20 campaign. The CR for this creature, or for this being, is 23. So this is not something that you would be, this is your end game. This is your last encounter for the party. And what I chose, because not only her difficulty, but her aesthetic and everything else, is the Demon Queen of Rot and Decay, Zugtmoy. This thing is, I don't know. So I find something IRL simply repulsive about fungi, and she is the queen of fungi. She is a demon lord, mushroom mama. Yes, that's a good way of looking at it.
No.
In 5e, she looks very different than that in the original picture. She did. I was actually about to bring that up. She originally looked like nothing like this. She was not aesthetically pleasing at all. There's actually in some of the lore that she was repulsive to even some of the demon lords themselves. In 5e, they gave her a reskin to take on a feminine form, with just these alien abstract just fungi growing off of her. Some people, you know, that I've seen as I was like watching YouTube videos and reading up on her, say that she has adopted this to make a mockery of human life because she absolutely hates everything about it. And she's got a very mind flayer-ish goal, like an Illithid-ish goal, in that she wants to wipe out all other life that isn't her, and life, like the fungi life, would be just synonymous with her, right? Like every her spores would spread across the material plane and every other plane, and it would just be her. Like that is her ideal. There's just something so physically repulsive about this being. I can't even explain. It's like I have a visceral reaction to this creature. The whole module is really weird because it changes massively between editions. She's particularly strange final villain considering the setting. Oh, I have no clue about that.
Me neither.
But yeah, let's talk about some of her abilities other than just her being absolutely terrifying as a concept. So she is a demon lord, which she rules over part of the abyss. I think it's the 220th or 222nd level of the abyss or something like that.
God damn.
She shares it with, actually, it's funny that it came up earlier with Jubilex, the faceless one, or the god of oozes, or whatever he's called now.
King.
Slime King.
That's his name from now. He's the Slime King.
She shares that realm with him. Let's see. So she's got her basic pseudopod attacks. I'm not gonna go into a whole lot of stuff, but she's got her basic pseudopod attacks, which are plus 13 to hit with a reach of 10 feet. They do 2d8 plus 6 bludgeoning damage and 2d8 poison damage. And there's no save for that. That is a hit damage. But her other two abilities, which are just terrifying to me in thought and in practice, in D&D practice, but also just as a thought of it happening. Infestation spores, which she can do 3 times a day. Zugtmoy releases spores that burst in a cloud that fills a 20-foot radius sphere centered on her, and it lingers for 1 minute. Any flesh and blood creature in the cloud when it appears or enters it later must make a DC 19 Constitution saving throw. On a successful save, the creature can't be affected by these spores for another 24 hours. However, on a failed save, the creature is infected with a disease called the Spores of Zugtmoy, and also gains a random form of madness determined by rolling on a Madness of Zugtmoy table that lasts until the creature is cured of the disease or dies. While infected in this way, the creature can be reinfected, and it must repeat the saving throw at the end of every 24 hours, ending the infection on a success. On a failure, the infected creature's body is slowly taken over by fungal growth, and after 3 such failed saves, the creature dies and is reanimated as a spore serpent. That is awful to think about. Because just in concept, you're breathing in these fungal spores, and then, you know, a day later on a failed save, 2 days later from a failed save, these things, like, just fungi start growing from underneath your skin, out of your pores. Oh God, it's it's absolutely revolting. And it just, can you imagine your skin starting to bloom? It's, oh man.
Well, I was fine until you said that.
I don't like this at all. I don't.
It's awful. Fungi are terrible things. I love mushrooms. I love to eat mushrooms. But this just, oh man.
One just sprouts on your forehead, and you're like, "Oh, hey, look, a mushroom."
Yeah. And now you're just a couple of days away from your demise. It brings us to the not last ability. She has tons of layer actions and regional effects that I won't go into because we do need to get out of here. But mind control spores, which she releases in a cloud similar to the infestation spores that surround her in a radius. They make the people that enter those spores must make a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw, or be infected with a disease called the influence of Zuckmoy for 24 hours. While infected, the creature is charmed by her and can't be reinfected by these spores. It's terrifying in that there is no other save.
That's it.
If you fail a DC 19 Wisdom save once, you are under her control for 24 hours, and there is no save against it. There's no damage that you can take. There is nothing. You could be at the mercy of your DM if they allow a greater restoration to cure something like this.
So in short, you are going to be used to beat your friends' asses. That's basically what that means. Get ready to make attack rolls against your friends.
You get the DM just like, hey, I'm gonna need that character sheet.
Like, dude, if you gotta be evil, you gotta be like, yeah, you're making these attack rolls. Like, you're doing this to them.
Oh man, that's rough.
Can you imagine critting your buddies like, I'm so sorry.
I think about it every day.
I'm just saying, I very distinctly remember how big Liam O'Brien was smiling when he was being mind controlled to hit his friends. Roll. He was like, yes, good. I can't say I wouldn't do the same. It'd be pretty funny.
Scott Milgram turns to give the look to Gorham like,
dear God, bonk!
Now, I mean, this is a boss creature. It is supposed to be this terrifying mechanically, but her entire motif, the fungal nature of this creature just gives me an IRL reaction that I can't explain. There's no, I don't think there's any other D&D monster that makes me shudder just thinking about the things like if these abilities were brought to life. God, I would like
spores, like you're inhaling these spores. That means shit's like growing in your lungs and stuff. Like, just coughing up a mushroom.
Like the spiders were Ian's personal pick. This one is Alex's personal pick.
It really is. There's a lot of demon lords out there. This one is 100% the scariest to me, for sure. What's up, Mackie? This is live. Hey, we got a new follow. We were raking them in.
Woo!
Whoa, I moved the background instead of the pictures.
You fool.
Mackie.
Oh, God.
Thank you for the follow.
Good gracious. Sorry, brother. That's fucked up. I think it's more of like a zombie thing where you're just like, oh. And you just fucking, wow.
Well, you're just charmed. You're just charmed by her, so you're still you.
Yeah, are you still? Yeah, okay.
You're still
Never
you.
mind.
Yeah,
Like,
you're just charmed by her.
You're just like, hey, you remember that time when you took the last cookie, bitch? And you just hit them.
It's just I think the infestation spores is what really scares me about this, because I imagine, I've never played the games, but what I imagine are the I can't think of the clickers
Clickers from The Last of Us.
from The Last of Us. And
Oh,
I just
they're like
imagine
walking all.
not only that, but imagine that happening over a slow period, like to you.
Yeah, it's got to be horribly painful because it's like fungus growing inside of your body. Like,
Well, I
Lots of
appreciate the
interesting
follow,
pressure
Matthew. Thank you.
points.
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good on all that. Jesus.
It is 9:48. I say if we wrap up by 10, we'll be doing well. This was a longer episode because we had a lot to cover.
We should have done 3 monsters.
I did say
5
three.
on.
I did say 3 to
two sets
5.
of people. You said 5, so I cut it down to 5.
I said 3 to 5. Anyways,
I had 6.
we want to do some honorable mentions as far as scary monsters goes, or any other sort of last wrapping up the thoughts. I see hands raised. Go for it. Just shout them out.
Mudmaw. It's not a canon 5e monster. It was from 3.5, but I had 2 on completely separate campaigns, completely separate DMs. Characters died of Mudmaws. They're based, for those who do not know, they're literally just a giant alligator. That's not too fancy, but they have little like fleshy tentacles that they can lash out and grab you and pull you into the water. And they are single-handedly why when we are in any kind of like swampy section or like murky water area, I'm always like, fuck. It is intimidating when you're in an area because you like when darkness, everyone's got dark vision, you got lanterns, but murky water and creatures that hide in it are threatening in a way that creatures that hide in the dark are not.
Yeah.
That's my honorable mention.
Spook.
The stat block for the mage and abjurer they're just casters, but they basically have a min-maxer's wet dream for spells for some reason. Like, they just have ridiculous stuff in there to destroy parties in a really horrible way. But yeah, those are my honorable mentions, and maybe Rakshasa, because those are just fun.
Rakshasa are terrifying.
Rakshasa.
Is this Ace Ventura? Rakshasa.
I was thinking of like I don't know. At first, I was thinking of one thing, and then I also thought of rock lobster, and I got mixed the two as I went. I don't know.
Do you have any
I
honorable mentions?
I have a honorable mention in the white because it could be created by the Devourer, like I was saying earlier. The only thing like that I really want to touch on, like, they're pretty average. They can slap you around, but their big thing is if they kill you with one of their abilities, they can then raise you as a zombie 24 hours later. It can have up to 12 of those under its control. So this could be like a really spooky thing that could just be rolling through town and like, oh yeah, hey look, oh it's just one guy, oh they're 12 bitches, okay, that's a lot. So they're just like, and in combination with the shit the Devourer can do, because it can create whites by killing things that are levels 3 to 5 or higher. So that's fucking scary. And then aside from that, literally anything that's like pretty low CR, like 1 or 2 or less, that has multi-attack, because that can just fucking kill you if you have low HP as a player, or almost kill you. Like, and usually low CR things like that come in groups, so like you're just gonna get fucking wrecked. Just speaking mostly from personal experience, them shits are scary. That's all I got for honorable mentions.
100%.
We each got our one.
I think we've covered mine, and I don't want to give out. It actually took me some time to find these creatures that I found. One you already fought. 2, I mean, if you come up against one, it's not like anybody's going to be lost, and I'm not putting you up against Zugmoy. That's not the big baddie. So you can eliminate that one out of your big baddie list that you guys have.
Darn.
You mark that one off.
For sure it was going to be her.
But unless anybody has anything else, you guys have any announcements or anything, exciting things happening, anything at all?
It's ready to game.
Yes.
Okay.
I want to play the Dungeons and Dragons.
All right.
I wish to roll dice.
Oh.
I want
Ready to get murdered by all this stuff we talked about.
I want to say thank you to everybody that's tuned in. Thank you guys so much for all of the follows. We really appreciate it. We hit 50 tonight, which is a milestone for us. So hopefully we keep putting out some great content for you guys to keep on coming back. One big announcement, a big-ish announcement. We are on Spotify now, Spotify, Google Podcast, and the like. So we are slowly uploading episodes to your podcast channel. So if you have something that you prefer, I know a lot of people prefer Spotify, but if you have another one, I believe we're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor.fm. So if you don't maybe have time to watch the YouTube videos, or you want to watch it while your phone screen's locked or something like that, watching it on the way to work or listening to it on the way to work, we are starting to upload to there. So go drop us a follow on Spotify. You will see our channel there, and we have an introduction and a story so far, and episode 1 is up right now. We will continue getting those episodes up ASAP. Other than that, we are going to be streaming this Saturday for our main for our Eberron campaign, and where you'll see all of these guys again, and we'll be in a new year. So
Yeah, we will. Holy shit.
this is our last stream for the new year. I can't say that I'm gonna miss 2020. Fuck this year.
Yes. Donkey Donald.
So thank you everybody again. Y'all have a wonderful night and much love. Bye.
Yeah, y'all take it easy. Have a happy new year. Get really drunk. Try